Chapter 549. We can celebrate for 15 minutes. Chapter 549. We can celebrate for 15 minutes. They were blatantly insulting His Royal Highness. That was just outrageous. Zero thought that those two down there had to have a death wish. Just then, he heard approaching footsteps, and a teenage girl came in with nimble movements. Xiao Wu. Xiaoga rushed over to Feng Wu when she saw the latter. Sister. Feng Xiaoqi also dashed at Feng Wu like a cannonball. Xiaoga immediately tried to console Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, we're not applying for Imperial College. Feng Xiaoqi chimed in. That's right. We don't need it. Xiaoga said, Imperial College isn't that good anyway. We'll do better cultivating on our own. Feng Xiaoqi nodded repeatedly. That's right. Sister, you're a much better teacher than any of them. Xiaoga said, so, Xiao Wu, don't be upset. It's not that we can't take the exam. We just don't want to. Feng Xiaoqi echoed. That's right. We don't like that place at all. Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she was very touched. These two kids must have thought that she hadn't gotten the exam permit and thus wouldn't be able to take the exam. That was why they were saying that the exam wasn't worthwhile. It was such a heartwarming move, and Feng Wu swore to herself that she would keep these two kids safe forever. With a wave of Feng Wu's hands, she flicked both of them in their foreheads. Check this out. Feng Wu tossed them two booklets. Xiaoga caught one red booklet, read the cover, and cried out in surprise. The exam permit. She opened it in a hurry and saw that her personal information was recorded in it together with the exam times. Wow! Xiaoga almost jumped to her feet, and her eyes shone in excitement. Xiao Wu, is this mine? I can take Imperial College's entrance exam? I'm only a level 7. I really could take the exam? Of course. I told you I would make it happen. Feng Wu beamed at her. Wow! Xiao Wu, you're amazing. This is amazing. Xiaoga threw her arms around Feng Wu and kissed the latter on the cheek. I can't believe this. You're incredible. What was more amazing was that after the stunt that the abominable crown prince had pulled, Feng Wu had still been able to get what she wanted. Xiao Wu is a goddess. Up in the parasol tree, Zero held a notebook in one hand and quickly made a sketch with a charcoal crayon. He didn't have time to sketch the scene where Feng Xiaoqi and Xiaoga had been talking about His Royal Highness behind his back, but was just in time to note down Feng Wu's satisfied smile. Feng Wu patted Xiaoga on the shoulder. Well, we can have 15 minutes to celebrate, and we just did. Now, it's time to get down to business. Business? Xiaoga looked puzzled. Feng Wu jabbed Xiaoga's head with a finger. You have the permit, but can you pass the exam? Xiaoga cried out. She had forgotten about the most important part. Imperial College's entrance exam was known as the national exam. Across the empire, the most talented teenagers under 18 would gather in the Imperial capital every year to take the exam. It was as competitive as 10,000 people squeezing onto a single log bridge. Xiao Wu, Xiaoga was flustered. She knew she wouldn't do well in the physical tryout, for she was only a level 7, and she wouldn't be able to defeat anyone. As for the written exam, she would probably do even worse. Sob, Xiao Wu. Xiaoga turned to Feng Wu for help. What was she supposed to do now? Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. We still have 7 days. Don't panic. Now, go back home and tell them that you'll be staying at my place for the next 7 days. Chapter 550. The Duan Family. Chapter 550. The Duan Family. In this situation, their only choice was to take a crash course. No problem. Xiao Wu, I'll be right back. Xiaoga rushed out the door in a hurry, and she ran all the way back home. The Duan family was a middle-class family. Thanks to the contributions of previous generations, Duan Hongyi, Duan Xiaoga's father, was able to get a position as a 4th-ranked official. Xiaoga was the daughter of a concubine, and her mother had long passed away. In this family, she had always been an easy target mocked by everyone. She had done all right as Feng Wu's friend back when Feng Wu was still the little genius. But then, Feng Wu lost her ability, and because of the poison, Xiaoga gained weight and her cultivation level dropped, which led to status declining sharply in the family. Her big brothers and sisters would pick on her all the time, especially her two elder sisters, Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoiwe, who enjoyed nothing more than laughing at Chaoga. Duan Chaoga went back to her room and packed up a few things. She then left a note before heading out. After all, it made no difference to other people in this family whether she was around or not. No one would notice her even if she didn't show up for a week. As for the servants who worked in her courtyard, well, there was only one maid, who was really an informant of her father's wife. There was no need to tell that maid anything. However, it just so happened that Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyin were walking past the gate when Chaoga stepped out. Duan Chaoyin was the eldest daughter of the family, Duan Chaoiwe II, and Duan Chaoga III. However, only Chaoga was the daughter of a concubine, whereas the other two were daughters of Duan Hongyi's wife. Duan Chaoiwe had sharper eyes, and she spotted Chaoga right away. "Chaoga, where are you going?" Duan Chaoyin turned around and saw Chaoga with her traveling bag. She frowned and blocked Chaoga's way. "Out of my way!" Chaoga frowned. Duan Chaoyin was displeased. "Are you running away from home now? Why do you even care?" Duan Chaoyin snorted. "I couldn't care less where you're going, but I do care when you steal our things." "You!" Duan Chaoga glared at her. "There's nothing worth stealing in my courtyard. Even if there is, you've taken away already." "Not necessarily. What if you've stolen from our vault?" Duan Chaoyin deliberately tried to enrage Chaoga. "Show me what's in your bag, and we'll let you go." Duan Chaoyin said those words on purpose, for she knew that Chaoga was easily set off. As expected, Chaoga's cheeks flushed immediately, and her eyes went bloodshot red, like an infuriated jaguar. "Do I have to take off my clothes and let you frisk me after you check my bag?" Chaoga smirked. "Why? I see you've learned your lesson. You know the drill well. You people are outrageous." "Yes, we are. What are you going to do about it? Can you fight us? Can you win?" Duan Chaoyin snorted and stared at Chaoga. "Duan Chaoga, you think too highly of yourself." Chaoga had reached level 9 5 years ago, which proved that she was very talented herself. However, her cultivation level had only declined in the past few years, whereas Duan Chaoyin had surpassed her. "You know what? I'm a level 9 spiritual master already." "Ha ha ha." Duan Chaoyin, who used to be inferior in her cultivation level, was very satisfied with herself now. "I went to apply for Imperial College today, and I'm sure I'll get into the martial arts department this year. I'll become an honorable student of Imperial College, whereas you..." Chapter 551, Chapter 551, Duan Chaoga had been wondering what her sister was going to show off, and she snorted when she heard Duan Chaoyin's announcement. "So what if you're taking the entrance exam for Imperial College?" "So what?" Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoiwe exchanged looks, and both saw ridicule in each other's eyes. "Did you think that you could become a student of Imperial College just by applying? Of all the candidates in the Empire, only 10,000 people can take the written exam. The top 1,000 can go on to the physical tryout, and only the top 100 from the physical tryout will be admitted. Do you have any idea how hard it is to register for the exam? However, both of your two elder sisters here successfully registered." Duan Chaoyin gave Chaoga a sidelong glance. "Do you think that's an easy thing to do?" Chaoga rolled her eyes. "That's it? You got registered for Imperial College's exam?" "So did I. Big deal." "Ha ha. Ouch, my belly aches." Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoiwe laughed until their stomachs ached. Especially Duan Chaoyin, who laughed so hard that she had to gasp for air. "Ha ha. Duan Chaoga, I didn't know you could be so brazen. I never knew you had this side to you. You registered as well? Ouch, my belly. I'm cracking up here." Duan Chaoiwe, the more aloof one who didn't talk much, couldn't help but smirk. "Chaoga, did you forget the part of the rules where only a level 9 spiritual master or above can take the exam?" Chaoga rolled her eyes. "Of course I didn't." "Then stop bragging. Are you hearing yourself?" Duan Chaoyin snorted. Chaoga threw them a dirty look. "That's the only way you know of to register for the exam? You people are so ignorant." Duan Chaoyin racked her brain in order to prove that she wasn't ignorant. She then remembered the exemption, which was rarely used. The 3 recommendation letters from 3 members of the education board? Is that what you're talking about? Duan Chaoyue and Duan Chaoyin exchanged looks. Yeah, Chaoga grinned. Uh-huh. Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue burst out laughing again, even louder than before. My tears are coming out. Since when was Duan Chaoga so funny? Can you believe what she just said? She has such a wild imagination. Does she take us for a pair of fools? I'm telling the truth. Chaoga snapped. It's true. The 3 members are Mr. Liu, Grand Secretary Fong, and Old Master Wu. They wrote those recommendation letters for me. Ha! Hearing those words, Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue, who had finally stopped laughing, guffawed again. This is hilarious. Gosh, I'm in tears. Duan Chaoyin wiped away her tears. I won't even begin to talk about Mr. Liu and Grand Secretary Fong. Old Master Wu himself is a well-known formation grandmaster in our empire. You can't even get close to him. Who are you kidding? I can't, but Xiao Wu can. Chaoga gloated. Xiao Wu had the 3 bosses write the letters for us. Xiao Wu? Which Xiao Wu? You mean Feng Wu? The one you used to follow everywhere? Yes. Chaoga was very confident every time Feng Wu was mentioned. Xiao Wu is the best. Not only did she persuade Old Master Wu and Grand Secretary Fong, she even got help from Mr. Liu as well. Oh, right. And there was His Royal Highness. He put in a good word for us, too. Chapter 552. Can you be any more delusional? Chapter 552. Can you be any more delusional? Hearing those words, Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyin burst into laughter again. If what Chaoga said before was remotely possible, the thing she had just said was pure delusion. Have you caught a cold or something? Are you hearing yourself? Are you daydreaming? Duan Chaoyin stared at Chaoga. Chaoga lost her temper. There's nothing wrong with my head, and I've told you nothing but the truth. Let lightning strike me if I'm lying. Wow, you're taking an oath? That's just lame, Duan Chaoga. Duan Chaoyin snorted. I'm telling the truth. Chaoga was furious. Upright as she was, she hated it when she was wronged. She was eager to prove herself. I have the exam permit. Chaoga cried out. Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue looked at each other. Could it be that she was telling the truth? Show us, then. Duan Chaoyin smirked. The 2 of them had their permits on them, and they could tell if Chaoga's was a genuine one if she showed it to them. No problem. It's right here. Chaoga reached in her chest pocket. Shit, where was her exam permit? Xiao Wu had gone to a lot of painstaking effort to get her that exam permit. If she had lost it somehow, Chaoga panicked. She smacked her forehead, trying to remember where she had put it, but she couldn't remember anything. Where's my exam permit? Where did I put it? My exam permit. Chaoga was so flustered that she was almost in tears. Duan Chaoyue and Duan Chaoyin exchanged looks, then both rolled their eyes. You liar. You're so vain. You don't have it, so stop pretending. Mr. Liu? And His Royal Highness? Seriously? You're unbelievable. You're not a bad actress. I'll give you that. Keep up the good work and show us your exam permit. Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue looked at each other and both burst out laughing. This was so much fun. That humble Duan Chaoga was capable of telling lies now. I remember. Xiao Wu has it. Chaoga said in excitement and heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't lose it, or it would be such a waste of Xiao Wu's efforts. However, Chaoga had barely finished her sentence when, oh my, you can't keep up with your lie, so you're getting Feng Wu involved now? She helped you get the exam permit? Haha. Are you telling me that she was able to persuade all 3 members, Mr. Liu included? Duan Chaoyin decided that Chaoga had lost her mind, for that was such an unbelievable story. Teehee, Duan Chaoyue tittered. Sister, don't put it that way. Chaoga put in a lot of effort to make up such a long story. Ha! I might actually believe her if she had said that someone else helped her with it. But Feng Wu, that genius-turned-useless Feng Wu? Oh God, Duan Chaoga, can you be any more delusional? Chaoga was so mad. She didn't want to talk to these people anymore, and she turned to leave. But they wouldn't leave her alone. Stop right there. Chaoga ignored them. Where are you going? Duan Chaoyin frowned. To Xiao Wu's place, of course. Chaoga snorted. Duan Xiaoyin frowned. I heard that good-for-nothing snuck back from northern border city. It seems... Chapter 553. Feng Wu in Action. Chapter 553. Feng Wu in Action. It seems that she's as useless as ever. Duan Chaoga, are you an idiot? Why are you still hanging out with her? Chaoga could stand it if she was the only one Duan Xiaoyin insulted, but she had insulted Feng Wu. Chaoga spun around and slapped Duan Xiaoyin in the face. She's not useless. The attack was so sudden and Chaoga's hand moved unbelievably fast. Duan Xiaoyin had no time to react. She was dumbfounded. Both Duan Xiaoyin and Duan Xiaoyue had applied for Imperial College and were level 9 spiritual masters. After they realized what had happened, they charged at Chaoga at once. Since Chaoga had made a move, she wasn't going to back off now. Thump, thump, thump. A fight broke out right away. Chaoga was only a level 7 spiritual master now, and she was no match for a level 9, let alone two of them. Thump, thump, thump. Before long, Chaoga had bruises all over her face, and she took quite a few blows to the body as well. Duan Xiaoyin smirked. Duan Chaoga, is that all you can do? You hit me? You're dead. Thump. Duan Xiaoyin slashed down with her palm, turned sideways, and it landed right on Duan Chaoga's forehead. That hurt. Chaoga felt a dull pain in her head. Her vision went dark, and she could see stars. Duan Chaoga died. Duan Xiaoyin pulled a dagger out of nowhere and stabbed down at Chaoga's heart. Duan Xiaoyin was cold-blooded that way. Although Chaoga was her sister, she was going to kill the latter because of that slap. Duan Chaoga's head swam, and she staggered about in all directions. She could barely keep her balance, let alone dodge the blade. It seemed that Chaoga would be stabbed to death. Right at that moment, thud, a leaf flew down and hit Duan Xiaoyin on her wrist. That hurt. Duan Xiaoyin's grip loosened at the pain, and the dagger dropped to the ground just before it reached Chaoga's chest. Meanwhile, Feng Wu stood on the wall. After Chaoga was gone for a while, Feng Wu recalled the complicated relationships in the Duan family and decided to check up on the girl. Feng Wu knew where Chaoga lived. Like herself, Chaoga had been given the most remote courtyard in the family. Hence, she had jumped onto the wall and was going to run along it to get to Chaoga's place. However, she saw what was happening before she entered the yard. Feng Wu was furious. How dare they bully Chaoga, her friend? She picked a leaf from a nearby tree. Luckily, Feng Wu could still think straight, and she covered her face with a black scarf. She couldn't let anyone else know about her cultivation ability for now. Who's there? Duan Xiaoyin realized what was going on, and a murderous look flickered in her eyes. Looking up, she saw a masked person charging at her. You. That was all Duan Xiaoyin could say. The masked person then smacked her on the forehead. Thud. It was such a formidable blow. Duan Xiaoyin flew back and crashed into a nearby wall. Rumble. The ramshackle wall collapsed at the impact, and the bricks buried Duan Xiaoyin. Seeing this, Duan Xiaoyue realized the danger and turned to run. However, she was only able to take a few steps when Feng Wu kicked up a stone and struck down with its sharp tip aimed at Duan Xiaoyue's back. Duan Xiaoyue cried out in surprise and fell forward on her face. What a sorry picture. Just then, Feng Wu sensed a great power surge out from deep inside the Duan family's house. Chapter 554, Xiao Wu. It's you. Chapter 554, Xiao Wu. It's you. Seeing Duan Xiaoyue fall on her face, Chaoga rushed over, climbed on her back, and pounded Duan Xiaoyue's head with her fist. Thump, thump, thump. The strikes were relentless. But Feng Wu could sense a formidable power coming their way. There was no time to think. Grabbing Chaoga, Feng Wu said, I like this chubby girl. She'll make a nice stew for my dinner. She's coming with me. After that, Feng Wu hurried off, dragging Chaoga along with her. Feng Wu and Chaoga had just jumped over the wall when a middle-aged man appeared in front of Duan Xiaoyue. What's going on? Father! Duan Xiaoyue looked up and saw that it was her awe-inspiring father. She wrapped her arms around his leg and burst into tears right away. Duan Hongyi was going to go after the intruder, but with Duan Chaoyue holding his leg, he couldn't move. Phew! Feng Wu only let out a breath of relief after they were away from the Duan family. She was only able to handle Duan Chaoyue and Duan Chaoying that easily, because she was a level 4 spiritual grandmaster, and those two were only level 9 spiritual masters. There was no surprise there. However, the person that came afterwards was way above Feng Wu's level. She might be able to run away from him, but Chaoga would be in a lot of trouble. You can't eat me. I don't taste good at all. Chaoga stared at Feng Wu in alarm. Chaoga didn't recognize her. Feng Wu found the girl hilarious. She put on a long face and eyed Chaoga maliciously. Chubby girls like you are my favorite. I'll slow cook you on a pan until the grease sizzles. It'll smell so good. Chaoga pictured herself sizzling in a pan and was almost in tears. But she still said stubbornly, I'm poisonous. Feng Wu stepped forward. That's okay. Poison doesn't affect me. Do you know who Feng Wu is? We're good friends. If you eat me, she'll kill you to take revenge for me. Chaoga stared at the masked person, sounding nervous. Feng Wu couldn't hold it back anymore and burst out laughing. You. Chaoga recognized that voice and her eyes widened. Feng Wu then removed the black scarf over her face. Xiao Wu, it's you. Chaoga stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. You. She hadn't detected any spiritual essence in Feng Wu all this time, so she just assumed that. She didn't realize that Feng Wu was such an advanced cultivator. Xiao Wu. Chaoga was more excited than if she had the ability herself. She ran up to Feng Wu and threw her arms around the ladder. Xiao Wu, you smacked Xiaoyin down and kicked Chao away in one go. Wow, Xiao Wu, you're incredible. What level are you now? Let me guess. Are you a level 1 spiritual grandmaster? Feng Wu shook her head. Level 2, then. Feng Wu shook her head again. Level 3. Chaoga was thrilled. But Feng Wu still shook her head. Not anymore. Holy crap. You're a level 4 spiritual grandmaster? Oh my god. Chaoga's knees almost buckled. Feng Wu nodded. Yes, for now. For now. Chaoga smiled in resignation. A level 9 spiritual master is already good enough to qualify for the exam. Xiao Wu. Chaoga's cheeks flushed with excitement. Those people all think that you have no spiritual essence, and they all laughed at you. Are they blind? No, I was as blind as them. Chaoga buried her face in her hands and smiled bitterly. I've been with you all this time, yet I had no idea how amazing you are. Chapter 555, Astonished. Chapter 555, Astonished. Feng Wu gave her a wry smile. I've been keeping it from everyone on purpose. But why? Chaoga was confused. Feng Wu said grumpily, the people who did those things to me are still lurking in the dark. Revealing myself prematurely is as good as sending them an invitation to kill me. Don't you think? Chaoga nodded repeatedly. That's right. Although I bet they'll be so shocked if they knew how wonderful you are already. I'll gladly shock them out of their minds. Feng Wu was in a great mood. Chaoga then glanced at Feng Wu in grievance. You said you were going to eat me? I was so scared. Ha ha. Feng Wu talked as she walked, and she said grumpily, if I didn't say that, your family would think that you were with me, and you'd be in a lot of trouble. Chaoga found that explanation reasonable. Feng Wu went on. Now that I've made it look like you were taken away, your family won't blame you. Moreover, it doesn't seem like they'll bother to search for you. After you go back with your achievements, you can tell them outright and honestly that they never tried to save you in the first place. Chaoga was thrilled to hear that, and her eyes lit up. With a single sentence, Feng Wu was making all these future plans for her. Xiao Wu, you're so smart. How did you come up with those things given the circumstances? Chaoga scratched her own head. Why was she so dumb herself? Feng Wu patted her head. Enough of that. We have less than 7 days left, and we'll have to prepare for both the written exam and the physical tryout. There's no time to lose. When they got back, they didn't even walk into the Feng clan manor, but went straight to Grand Secretary Feng's house next door. Grand Secretary Feng was composing a memorial to the throne. Xiao Wu was so talented, but she couldn't get into Imperial College because of His Royal Highness's intervention. It was such a loss to the school. The more Grand Secretary Fong thought about it, the more sorry he felt. In the end, he decided to write it down in a memorial to the throne. Other people might not dare to confront Jun Lin Yuan, but surely His Majesty would. Grand Secretary Fong was only halfway through the memorial to the throne when Feng Wu and Chao Ge arrived. The old steward was waiting on Grand Secretary Fong inside, and Steward Fong stood outside the room. After what happened last time, when Steward Fong had failed to recognize Feng Wu's talent, the man greeted Feng Wu warmly. "Miss Feng, it's wonderful to see you. Please come in. Is your old master in?" Feng Wu asked as she walked in. Yes, of course. The last thing Steward Fong would do now was stop her. His old master thought very highly of this young lady. Steward Fong showed Feng Wu to an inner living room. The old steward opened the door and let Feng Wu and Chao Ge in after recognizing them. Grand Secretary Fong still had half of the memorial to the throne to write when Feng Wu entered. He grunted. "You came soon enough. How'd it go? Did His Royal Highness give you a hard time?" Feng Wu said innocently, "No, he didn't." "You don't have to pretend with me," Grand Secretary Fong said grumpily. "Don't worry. My words still mean something, and I'm writing a memorial to the throne to His Majesty. I don't know about other people, but His Majesty should be able to talk to him." Feng Wu was very touched. The old man was so nice to her that she almost felt bad about buying his house. Feng Wu opened her palm, revealing a little red booklet. "What?" The old man rose to his feet so abruptly that he stumbled. Chapter 556. You're not a cripple? Chapter 556. You're not a cripple? Feng Wu reached out in a hurry and steadied him. "Watch out." The old man snatched the red booklet from Feng Wu and opened it. Feng Wu's personal information was indeed recorded in it. "I have one." Chao Ge presented her own as well. Only after Grand Secretary Fong examined both booklets was he convinced that Feng Wu had really received her exam permit. The old man hadn't thought much of the exam permit at first, but then Jun Lin Yuan got involved, and all of a sudden, it was hell mode for them all. "You really have it?" The old man was amazed. "Didn't His Royal Highness try to intervene?" Feng Wu had charged out, looking as if she was going to punch someone in the face. Grand Secretary Fong had thought that Feng Wu would be thrown out of the Crown Prince's residence for sure. However, not only hadn't she been thrown out, she had somehow secured the exam permits. Grand Secretary Fong found it hard to believe. Feng Wu nodded. "I was lucky. Jun Lin Yuan had a breakthrough, and he was in a good mood. So, he made it easy for me." Grand Secretary Fong cried out. His Royal Highness made a breakthrough again. Exactly what level is he now? Feng Wu couldn't help but ask. It seemed that Jun Lin Yuan's cultivation level was a secret. The old man patted Feng Wu's head grumpily. "That's a top secret of the Empire. You shouldn't even ask. Now that you have the exam permit, your most important task now is to pass the exam." "Yes." Feng Wu and Chao Ge stood at attention and nodded solemnly. As for the physical tryout, Grand Secretary Fong sighed in resignation. "Chao Ge can probably make do with a crash course, but what about Xiao Wu? She had no cultivation ability whatsoever, and the old man didn't know what to do." Chao Ge's eyes lit up. Xiao Wu wasn't a cripple. She was amazing. Right now, the only people in the room were Feng Wu, Chao Ge, and Grand Secretary Fong. Feng Wu smiled, then put the concealing jade back into her ring. If she hadn't seen the old man writing that memorial to the throne to Emperor Wu, she would never have realized how kind he was to her, which was why she decided to let him in on her secret. Grand Secretary Fong was deep in thought, trying to come up with some ideas to help Feng Wu. He turned around and saw Feng Wu beaming at him. The old man was disgruntled. "Kiddo, get serious. We're running out of time. The exam is in 7 days, and you can't even." "Wait a minute." Grand Secretary Fong looked shaken all of a sudden. He rushed to Feng Wu's side, and his voice trembled with excitement. "Kiddo, you—" Staring at Feng Wu, the old man said in a shaky voice, "No, that can't be. That's impossible." However, Feng Wu only stood there as steady as anything, with perfect composure. "Show me your hand." Grand Secretary Fong stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu gave him her right hand, then activated her spiritual essence. A level 4 spiritual grandmaster. Grand Secretary Fong figured out right away. "You have very sharp eyes." Feng Wu grinned. "You naughty kid." Grand Secretary Fong smiled wryly. "You're already very capable. Why did you go to all that trouble to hide it? Do you like to be called a cripple?" However, given how experienced Grand Secretary Fong was, he immediately realized why Feng Wu had done so. Chapter 557, Exam Papers. Chapter 557, Exam Papers. You figured it out almost right away. There's another explanation for that incident, isn't there? By that incident, he obviously meant the one 5 years ago when Feng Wu lost her cultivation ability. Feng Wu said, "Yes." Grand Secretary Fong nodded. He now understood why the girl had to hide her real ability at the cost of all those insults and contempt. It was incredible that she could be this level-headed at such a young age. The old man liked Feng Wu even more. "But," said Feng Wu, "Xin, who doesn't know about my recovery." Feng Wu didn't finish the sentence, but Grand Secretary Fong knew what she meant. He nodded. "Your top priority now is to prepare for the written exam." Grand Secretary Fong then asked the old steward to fetch a stack of exam papers, then had the servants transcribe 2 copies. Meanwhile, Steward Fong was instructed by the old man to set up a couple of desks and chairs in the main hall. The papers, which still smelled of fresh ink, were laid out. Grand Secretary Fong casually sat down in the head seat and waved his hand. "Finish the papers in 2 hours." Feng Wu and Chaoga looked at each other in bewilderment. Neither of them had studied the subjects or read the relevant books. The stack of papers was completely foreign to them. Feng Wu picked up the first paper. The first section was filling in the blanks. A few characters were missing from a verse, and one had to fill in the missing parts. Feng Wu was well-versed in books and could finish 5 out of the 10 problems. Chaoga, on the other hand, was at a complete loss. She knew next to nothing about literary works. Feng Wu looked up at Chaoga and shook her head with a wry smile. Although there were only 10 questions, they covered a very wide range. The study of nature, history, cultivation theory, formations, medicine, you name it. If one wasn't well-read enough, they wouldn't even be able to understand the question. Read more chapter on novel full. Poor little Chaoga. Feng Wu then moved on to the second section. One had to write something from memory, and the subjects covered were just as diverse. There was a random paragraph taken from some book, and the candidate had to write down the rest of the passage from memory. One could only answer the question if they had memorized the passage. Even after reading the passage, they might not be able to write down everything. However, if one hadn't even read it then, this was the case with the sentence Feng Wu was reading. Courtesy is the standard by which intimacy and remoteness is determined. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Where was that sentence from? Although she had read a lot of books, she had never seen it before. Because she didn't know that sentence, she left the entire section blank. The third section consisted of multiple choice questions. Write down the options you deem correct in the bracket. The answer is only correct when it contains all the correct options and only the correct ones. Feng Wu read the questions, then rubbed her forehead. They were incredible. The subjects mentioned covered everything from astronomy and the universe to medicine refinement. No subject was left out, and candidates who weren't well-read enough would fail miserably in this section. Section 4 was short answer questions. The name of a practice manual was mentioned, and the candidate needed to elaborate on the theory, techniques, and innovations. The name of the manual on Feng Wu's paper was Ice Everywhere. Ice Everywhere. Feng Wu was elated. She didn't have the ice attribute herself, but she had a peerless, beautiful master who knew all the attributes and all professions. Her beautiful master used to explain all the attributes and skills to her. With his encouragement, she memorized everything, even though she hadn't understood most of it. Chapter 558, My Score? Chapter 558, My Score. Back then, Feng Wu used to be so confused and had to ask her master the reason for her memorizing all those theories and techniques. She wasn't going to have all of those attributes anyway. Her beautiful master told her that whether she had an attribute herself or not wasn't relevant. It was about recognizing her opponent's attributes and techniques. As the saying went, know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat. Hence, her beautiful master had urged her to learn all the techniques by heart. Back then, she had even talked to her master about making innovations to existing manuals. She had only been 5 or 6 and knew too little to innovate anything. Her beautiful master, however, was a different story. He was the man that could look down on the entire continent. He was like a god who stood on the clouds. If he wanted, nothing on this continent could escape his eyes. A casual comment on a practice manual could make men go wild with joy or even create a grandmaster of a generation. Hence, Feng Wu was elated when she read the question for the 4th section. It was right up her alley. She wrote down her answer without hesitation. The 5th section was on auxiliary skills. From a list of questions related to auxiliary skills, one had to choose 2 and make improvements. The subjects covered formations, medicine refinement, sewing, smelting, and so forth. Feng Wu was looking at an incomplete formation. She soon saw that it was a medium-level formation, which could be turned into an advanced level one with some minor alterations. Given her formation skills, Feng Wu solved the problem in no time. The second question she chose was on medicine refinement, which she solved very quickly as well. Whoosh! Feng Wu didn't linger on any of the questions. She answered those she could answer, and as for those she couldn't, staring at them wouldn't change anything. After handing in the paper, Feng Wu turned around to look at Chaoga. Feng Wu had at least answered part of the first few sections and had done well in the last section. But Chaoga had chewed the end of her pen raw, but her paper remained blank. Chaoga looked up, and her face reminded Feng Wu of a poor, sad spiritual pet. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. Chaoga had a lot of work to do. After Feng Wu handed in her paper, Grand Secretary Feng began to correct it right away. The first section totaled 50 points, and Feng Wu scored 25. The second section required her to write from memory, but since Feng Wu wasn't familiar with the text, she had left it blank, which meant she got a 0. Grand Secretary Feng wrote a big, round 0 on the paper with cinnabar. He then raised his head and gave Feng Wu a stern look. Feng Wu felt ashamed and bit her lower lip involuntarily. The third section was multiple-choice questions. The requirement was very strict. The answer was only correct when all correct options and only the correct ones were selected. There were 10 questions in total, and they could be on any subject. The frown on Grand Secretary Feng's face gradually eased as he read on. Feng Wu had answered 5 out of the 10 questions, and all 5 were correct. That was to say, as long as she knew the subject, she could get the correct answer. The 5 unanswered ones were on subjects she didn't know. Out of the total 50 points, Feng Wu got 25 again. Section 4 was short answer questions, and the candidate needed to elaborate on the theory, techniques, and innovations of the ice everywhere stance. Chapter 559, Poor Kid. Chapter 559, Poor Kid. Grand Secretary Feng was frowning at first, but as he read on, his eyes widened. He then raised his head and stared at Feng Wu. Did you come up with the answer yourself? Grand Secretary Feng found it hard to believe. How could a 13-year-old girl have such a thorough understanding of the ice attribute? Her explanation of the theory and skill was straightforward and easy to understand. As for the innovation part, she actually did it. If this got out, all the ice mages on this continent would be shocked. Because even the examiners who designed this question couldn't come up with such an answer. Who else do you think could have come up with the answer if not me? Feng Wu looked at him with a half-smile. Grand Secretary Feng agreed. He admired her innovation from the bottom of his heart. Fighting back his impulses, Grand Secretary Fong moved on to correct the fifth section. Formations. Grand Secretary Fong knew before he read the answer that Feng Wu was going to get full marks, for she was as advanced as he was, if not more. He was right. Feng Wu completed that medium-level formation and improved it to the level of a master formation. She then stopped there. Grand Secretary Fong raised his head and gave Feng Wu a disgruntled look. "You canny girl." She was at least a Grandmaster-level formation master, but she had only demonstrated a master-level formation. And that was enough to surpass most of the formation masters on this continent. Even some of the teachers in the formation department of Imperial College, for that matter. What else could he give her but full marks? To Grand Secretary Fong's surprise, Feng Wu didn't just get full marks in formation skills. In medicine refinement, Grand Secretary Fong was well-versed in that subject as well, not to mention that he had the standard answer on hand. He then saw that the final number Feng Wu had given was down to the 12th decimal point. And it was identical to the standard answer. That was to say, "You know medicine refinement?" Grand Secretary Fong asked in amazement. Xiaoga said grumpily, "What sort of question is that?" Xiao Wu was an advanced medicine refiner when she was 5. She could only have gotten better after so many years. 5? An advanced medicine refiner? Grand Secretary Fong couldn't believe his ears. 5-year-olds weren't even as tall as a refining cauldron yet. Feng Wu threw a disgruntled look at Xiaoga. "Finish your paper." Xiaoga felt like crying. She knew the words on their own, but put them together into sentences, and she didn't understand any of them. It was terrible. Meanwhile, Grand Secretary Fong had finished correcting Feng Wu's paper. She got 25 in Section 1, 0 in Section 2, 25 in Section 3, 50, which was the full mark in Section 4, and 50 points each from the 2 questions on auxiliary skills. Out of 300 points, Feng Wu got 200 in total. That exceeded Grand Secretary Fong's expectations. Feng Wu had scored much higher than he had anticipated. He had thought she would get 50 points at most. "Is this really your first time answering these questions?" Grand Secretary Fong looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. "My family just moved back from Northern Border City. Do you think I could get hold of mock exam papers when I was out there?" Grand Secretary Fong agreed. This girl really was a genius. Despite his joy, Grand Secretary Fong kept a straight face. He then turned to look at Xiaoga. Xiaoga couldn't sit still anymore. She slowly rose to her feet and handed in her paper. Chapter 560, Straight D Student. Chapter 560, Straight D Student. Grand Secretary Fong turned to Section 1, and it was blank. Section 2, blank. Section 3. The old man's eyes were the size of saucers, and the sound of flipping pages was very loud. He would dart a look at Xiaoga every now and then as he looked through her paper. Xiaoga was still on the chubbier side, which gave her a tough look. However, she couldn't help but cringe at Grand Secretary Fong's stare, and she tried to take cover behind Feng Wu. Grand Secretary Fong snorted grumpily. "Seriously? You think she can shield you?" Xiaoga gave Grand Secretary Fong a pleading look. "Get over here." Grand Secretary Fong snapped. Aggrieved, Xiaoga turned to Feng Wu for help. Feng Wu could only rub her forehead in resignation. Her face was also twitching after looking at all those blank answer sheets. Grand Secretary Fong had picked up his cinnabar pen to correct the paper, but he got blank sheets from the beginning to the end. The old man didn't know what to say. Feng Wu didn't say anything either. Xiaoga kept her silence, but took a small step back. Grand Secretary Fong glared at Xiaoga. He wanted to say something, but words failed him. After doing this for so many years, this was the first time he had ever seen a completely unanswered exam paper. Read more chapter on novel full. Seeing how cross the old man was, Feng Wu poured him a cup of tea at once. "There, please have some tea and calm down. Xiaoga has always been a straight D student. I won't deny that." Grand Secretary Fong's chest heaved with indignation. Straight D student? Yes, that was exactly what she was. You're absolutely correct. Taking Feng Wu's hand, the old man vented his grievances. "I've never met any student as hopeless as she is. How can she? How can she? Feng Wu rushed to the old man's side and massaged his shoulders in an ingratiating manner. Please don't get upset. Chowga tends to go overboard on some subjects. Theory isn't her forte, but she's great in actual combat and very efficient in her cultivation. At least she's more than just empty talk, right? With proper education, there's no difference between students. I'm sure you'll teach her well. Grand Secretary Fong gulped down deep breaths, then said reluctantly, I'm going to have a stroke before I can do that. Nonsense. You'll live 1,000 years and more. Please help Chowga. Please. Grand Secretary Fong gave Feng Wu a disgruntled look. He had daughters and granddaughters of his own, but they were nowhere near as sweet as this child. With a wave of his hand, Grand Secretary Fong said, Fine, fine. I'll teach Chowga as well, for your sake. Both Feng Wu and Chowga were elated. After all, they only had 7 days left. Grand Secretary Fong said to Feng Wu, You can worry about Chowga later. You're not much better yourself. You got 200 points out of 300, which means you barely passed. But that won't put you in the top 1,000 students. Only the top 1,000 could qualify for the physical tryout. It's so competitive, the more Chowga thought about it, the sadder she became. Xiao Wu had 200 points, and she still couldn't get into the top 1,000. She herself couldn't answer a single question. What was she supposed to do? Xiao Wu, I'm so sorry. Chowga was so upset that she smacked herself on the head and stomped her foot. You got me that exam permit after all those setbacks, but I'm so useless. I'm sorry. Overwhelmed with guilt, Chowga began to cry. Feng Wu rubbed her head, but it only made Chowga sadder, which upset Feng Wu as well. Chapter 561 Government Official Reserve. Chapter 561 Government Official Reserve. Wrapping her arms around Chowga, Feng Wu said, Silly girl, don't say that. It's just Imperial College, and you only need to take the exam if you want to. It's not worth crying over. However, Feng Wu's comforting words only made Chowga cry harder. Still weeping, Chowga took Feng Wu's hand. I have to get into Imperial College. You're going there, and so am I. I don't want to be left behind. Xiao Wu. Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. All right. We'll go together. I promise. Grand Secretary Fong heaved a long sigh. Fine. Little Chowga can join you in studying, but you know the odds of her passing the exam. Feng Wu nodded. She knew she would find a way to help Chowga. Grand Secretary Fong saw Feng Wu as his chief student. The physical tryout won't be a problem for you. As a level 4 spiritual grandmaster, you're already one of the best among the new students. Feng Wu nodded. Your main problem is the written exam. Grand Secretary Fong started to explain the exam to Feng Wu in detail. First of all, tell me, why do you think Imperial College set up a written exam? That's right. Why? Chowga was bewildered. The old man kept his gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, Because all government officials of the Empire are chosen from graduates of Imperial College. Imperial College's graduation exam is known as the national exam, and those who pass it can start their career in politics as junior officials. That was why the entrance exam was so strict. Not all graduates of Imperial College had to become politicians, but all politicians were graduates of Imperial College. Moreover, added Grand Secretary Fong, the families of public officials will consider Imperial College graduates first when it comes to marriage. Without this education, you won't even be able to marry well. Therefore, to the people of the Junwu Empire, entering Imperial College meant promising futures for them. Otherwise, their futures would be very bleak. Chowga tugged at Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, I have to take the exam and get in. Grand Secretary Fong was speechless. Xiao Wu had a good chance of getting in, but Chowga didn't seem to fit anywhere. Feng Wu nodded. All right, you'll get in if you want to. Grand Secretary Fong didn't know what to say. He shook his head and said to Feng Wu, Your task now can be considered hard and easy at the same time. Feng Wu looked at him in bewilderment. Pointing at the paper, the old man explained, Section 1, filling in the blanks. All you need to do is memorize mechanically. The excerpt is taken from one of 1,000 books, so what you need to do is learn those 1,000 books by heart. Feng Wu said, "No problem." The old man darted a suspicious look at her. That was quick. It's 1,000 books we're talking about here, not one book. I know, Grand Secretary Fong said, and you can't just flip through them. You have to remember every word by heart. Feng Wu said, "No problem." Grand Secretary Fong rubbed his forehead. "If you say so." Now, let's move on to Section 2. This section requires you to write down a passage from memory, which is essentially the same as Section 1. It's also randomly picked from one of those 1,000 books, and you have to memorize all the words. Feng Wu nodded. Of course. Grand Secretary Fong turned the page. Section 3 consists of multiple-choice questions, and they can be about anything. It tests the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years. Chapter 562. That's just the way he is. Chapter 562. That's just the way he is. Xiao Wu, you have extensive knowledge of formations and cultivation theories, and you gave the correct answer to every single question on those subjects. However, when it comes to subjects you haven't delved into, you don't know the answers. Feng Wu nodded earnestly. The old man was right. That means it'll be very difficult for you to improve. So many subjects are covered, and there's so much you'll need to learn. You won't have time to remember all the books. My advice is that you should give up on this section. Grand Secretary Fong was very straightforward. But Feng Wu only frowned. She didn't want to give up. Grand Secretary Fong went on flipping through the exam paper. You got full marks in Section 4. He gave Feng Wu a strange look. Apart from ice, do you know the other elements as well? Because her beautiful master had explained to her the elemental laws from a strategic point of view to show Feng Wu a big picture of the entire continent. Feng Wu nodded. Yes. For the moment, Grand Secretary Fong decided to take her word for it, though he didn't actually believe her. For he himself, who had studied the elemental laws for so many years, still had a lot more to learn, even at this age. She was only 13. How much could she know? Little did Grand Secretary Fong know that Feng Wu had been taught by the most formidable person to have ever existed on this continent. Because of your skills in formation and medicine refinement, you got full marks in Section 5 as well. Grand Secretary Fong let out a sigh of relief after the analysis. Therefore, your main problem is memorizing the content tested in Sections 1 and 2. So, Grand Secretary Fong took a booklet from the old steward and handed it to Feng Wu. Here's the book list. Remember everything in every book, and you should be able to get into the top 1,000. What if Feng Wu asked, what if I want to get full marks in Section 3 as well? Grand Secretary Fong gave her a strange look. Kiddo, you only have less than 7 days. Other people started preparing for this exam pretty much the moment they were born. It would take them at least 10 years as they made their way through junior and intermediate schools before they got to the actual exam. And Feng Wu only had 7 days. That's why I said, what if? Feng Wu smiled. If you still have time after memorizing those 1,000 books, Grand Secretary Fong glanced at the old steward. The old steward went to the bookshelf at the back of the room and brought back a small wooden box. I know. She'll need to memorize everything in the booklets in that box, right? Chowga's eyes sparkled. Grand Secretary Fong was speechless. He turned to Feng Wu. There are 10 booklets here, and they all just contain book titles. Each booklet is an extensive reading list for one subject. In total, 10,000 books are mentioned here, and you only have 7 days. Feng Wu nodded. I'll read them if I have time. She was certain that, given Jun Lingyuan's temperament, he would only come up with new ways to make her life harder. That was just the way he was. So, Feng Wu wanted to make sure that she was ready for anything. Grand Secretary Fong nodded. He then turned to Chowga, and he sighed again. Chowga said, I'll start reading too. I'll read them all. Chapter 563 Me, Duan Chowga. Chapter 563 Me, Duan Chowga. Grand Secretary Fong waved his hand. You can find all the books on that list in the stack room at the back. Feel free to read as many as you want, and try your best to understand the texts. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Steward Fong's voice rang out. Master, the lady is here with the princess. Grand Secretary Fong frowned at those words. He then turned to Feng Wu. Go find the books. You can take them back home to read. An idea struck Feng Wu. Were they Grand Secretary Fong's daughter and granddaughter? Why had the old man changed his mind and told them to read on their own? Feng Wu couldn't figure out why, but neither did she care. Shaking her head, she led Chowga to the stack room at the back. For Grand Secretary Fong had given her the key to the room already. As soon as Feng Wu and Chowga left, footsteps approached from outside. Grandpa, Grandpa! Feng Wu would have recognized that voice right away if she were here. The voice belonged to Mu Yao Yao. Father! Lady Mu greeted Grand Secretary Fong. Mu Yao Yao rushed to Grand Secretary Fong's side and took his arm. Grandpa, it's so nice to see you. Are you sleeping well these days? Did you miss us? Grand Secretary Fong frowned a little. Grand Secretary Fong saw that Lady Mu and Mu Yao Yao had brought quite a few chests with them, and Lady Mu was instructing the servants, put them in the warehouse. What's this about? Grand Secretary Fong's eyes flickered. Grandpa, Mu Yao Yao took Grand Secretary Fong's arm. I have a favor to ask. Please say yes, please. The bruises on Mu Yao Yao's face hadn't faded completely, and Grand Secretary Fong frowned when he noticed them. What happened to your face? A look of hatred flickered in Mu Yao Yao's eyes at the mention of that. It was all because of Feng Wu. Grandpa, you have no idea how abominable Feng Wu is. Mu Yao Yao then told Grand Secretary Fong about what happened at World Tower and finished her story indignantly. I'm going to beat her up whenever I see her from now on. Mu Yao Yao had completely distorted the incident at World Tower. She kept emphasizing what a bully Feng Wu was and how helpless she had been herself. Lady Mu knew perfectly well what really happened, but she showed no intention of stopping Mu Yao Yao from slandering Feng Wu. The frown on Grand Secretary Fong's face grew bigger. Nonsense. The Feng Wu he knew was clever, kind, and reasonable. She was nothing like the person Yao Yao described. Grand Secretary Fong didn't believe a word she said. It's Mu Yao Yao. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and Chowga were heading for the front gate, each holding a stack of books. They heard Mu Yao Yao's accusations when they walked past the main hall. Mu Yao Yao? Feng Wu pricked up her ears. She called Grand Secretary Fong Grandpa. Come to think of it, Grand Secretary Fong was Xian Yi's grandfather, and Mu Yao Yao addressed Xian Yi as cousin. That was to say, Mu Yao Yao and Xian Yi's mothers were sisters. Chowga flared up right away. How dare that woman slander Feng Wu behind her back? Not to mention that everything she said was a lie. This Mu Yao Yao was unbelievable. Throwing her books on the ground, Chowga was going to charge into the room and beat that woman up. Feng Wu stopped her in a hurry. Wait, I won't wait, Chowga said indignantly. I should have beaten the crap out of that Mu Yao Yao when I had the chance. She's slandering you behind your back. I hate it when people do that. Who's making all that noise out there? Lady Mu's stately voice came from inside. It's me, Duan Chowga. Rolling up her sleeves, Chowga charged into the main hall. Feng Wu didn't say anything either. Chapter 564, They're All Mine. Chapter 564, They're All Mine. Well, what choice did Feng Wu have? If Chowga wanted to fight, of course she couldn't stop her. She had to fight alongside her friend. Duan Chowga? Mu Yao Yao was obviously baffled to see Chowga. Looking past Chowga, she spotted Feng Wu. Feng Wu, Mu Yao Yao looked like she wanted to kill someone. When enemies came face to face, their eyes blazed with hatred. Mu Yao Yao rushed toward Feng Wu and ranted, Feng Wu, what are you doing here? Feng Wu only glanced at her. And why do you have those books? Mu Yao Yao was exasperated when she saw the covers of the books. Gosh, you're stealing my family's books. Hey, seize these book thieves. Steward Fong was bewildered. The old steward ignored the girl. The servants of the Fong manor exchanged awkward looks, but no one stepped forward. At that moment, Grand Secretary Fong strolled into the room. Grandpa, Mu Yao Yao was almost in tears, for she thought that she was being humiliated. Grandpa, look! They're book thieves. And she's at Feng Wu. Chowga exploded at those words. Resting her hands on her waist, she bellowed. Who the hell are you calling book thieves? You're so full of bullshit. Chowga jabbed Mu Yao Yao in the chest with a finger as she shouted. Grandpa, Mu Yao Yao said in a pitiful voice. Lady Mu was displeased and commanded, Take these two down. Read more chapter on novel full. The lady had been escorted by quite a few guards, who were ready to charge at Feng Wu and Chowga. Stop! Grand Secretary Fong didn't raise his voice, but no one dared to challenge his authority. Instantly, all eyes were on him, and even Mu Yao Yao stopped her fake weeping. They didn't steal any books. Grand Secretary Fong drew back his arm from Mu Yao Yao's grip. The look Mu Yao Yao gave Feng Wu was filled with hatred. She then turned to Grand Secretary Fong. Grandpa, how did they even get in? Don't you know that Feng Wu is useless? She has no right to set foot in this house. Throw her out already. Grand Secretary Fong frowned. Yao Yao, be polite to Xiao Wu. If Mu Yao Yao had paid a little more attention to his tone, she would have realized that her grandfather was already very angry. Xiao Wu, Mu Yao Yao was shocked. Since when was her grandpa this familiar with Feng Wu? No, her grandpa was hers alone. Grandpa, is an outsider more important to you than me now? Grand Secretary Fong frowned at Mu Yao Yao. The girl was no longer that cute and charming granddaughter he remembered, but sounded tart and mean. The old man was no longer hiding his irritation, but as enraged as she was at the moment. Mu Yao Yao didn't see it at all. Grandpa, Mu Yao Yao thought she could have anything because of her grandfather's love and indulgence. She glanced at the books in Feng Wu's hands. Feng Wu wanted to read them? Not in a million years. Those belonged to the Mu family, and with one word from her, Feng Wu wouldn't even get a page of them. Grandpa, aren't you retiring and going back to your hometown? Can I have all the books in your stack room? Please. Mu Yao Yao swayed Grand Secretary Fong's arm back and forth and pleaded in a soft, saccharine voice that reminded one of a kitten. Chowga was so mad. Xiao Wu needed to read a lot of books. It would be a disaster for her if she couldn't get access to them. This Mu Yao Yao was outrageous. Chowga waved her fists. She wanted to hit someone so badly. Chapter 565, Granduncle. Chapter 565, Granduncle. Mu Yao Yao darted a defiant look at Feng Wu as she fawned over her grandfather. Yes, I'm turning everyone against you, Feng Wu. Bite me. Mu Yao Yao was over the moon. Feng Wu frowned and smirked. She then cupped her fist to the old man. If that's the case, sir, please leave those books to your granddaughter. Goodbye. After that, Feng Wu took Chowga's hand and turned to leave. Wait. A cold, authoritative voice rang out behind Feng Wu. It was a voice that belonged to someone used to giving commands. Feng Wu turned around and looked at Grand Secretary Fong in bewilderment. Grand Secretary Fong stared at Mu Yao Yao. What do you need these books for? To read them, said Mu Yao Yao casually. I'm taking the exam for Imperial College this year, and they'll be very helpful to me. Grandpa, please give them to me. No. Grand Secretary Fong refused her outright. Grandpa, Mu Yao Yao was baffled. And Lady Mu was as baffled as her daughter. Father. Grand Secretary Fong waved her off. Stop calling me your father. And you too, Yao Yao. You need to address me as Granduncle from now on. What? It wasn't just Mu Yao Yao and Lady Mu. Feng Wu and Chowga were equally baffled. Feng Wu and Chowga exchanged looks. That was to say, Mu Yao Yao wasn't Grand Secretary Fong's granddaughter. Judging by what the old man said, he was the older brother of Mu Yao Yao's maternal grandfather. The four of them weren't the only ones who were shocked. Mu Yao Yao and Lady Mu had come here today with guests. They were teenage boy and girl. Because of the row between Mu Yao Yao and Feng Wu, Mu Yao Yao hadn't had time to introduce the brother and sister to Grand Secretary Fong. The siblings were called Yao Hao and Yao Ying, and were from a wealthy merchant family that was very influential in the empire's business circle. However, They weren't as well connected in the political circle. It was common knowledge that the Mu and Fong families were joined through marriage. The children of the Yao family were taking the exam for Imperial College this year and were worried about not being able to get in. Hence, they had gone to the Mu family for help. Only the insiders knew how much the Yao family had paid the Mu family in return. Lady Mu and Mu Yao Yao had brought the siblings here today to introduce them to Grand Secretary Fong, hoping that the old man would show them some past papers and give them some useful tips. Mu Yao Yao thought that since her grandpa was one of those who designed the exam questions, everyone would be happy if he could give them a few tips, or even tell them what would be in the exam paper this year. However, Grand Secretary Fong had rejected her before she could even bring up the topic. Grand Uncle. Mu Yao Yao looked at Lady Mu in confusion. Lady Mu looked embarrassed. She was going to say something when Grand Secretary Fong stopped her with a wave of his hand. Your father left you in my care when he passed away, so I didn't say anything when you call me father. But now, you're the lady of Mu Mansion and should behave like one. Otherwise, your father in the other world would be very disappointed. Lady Mu didn't know what to say. Since it was Grand Secretary Fong's family business, Feng Wu decided it would be wise to not get involved. Taking Chaoga's hand, she was ready to leave. Grand Secretary Fong said grumpily, "Take these books with you. I'm going to test you on them tomorrow." Okay, got it. Picking up the books, Feng Wu and Chaoga left right away. Mu Yao Yao still looked deeply shaken. As it turned out, the famous Grand Secretary Fong wasn't her grandfather after all. Once that was cleared up, Grand Secretary Fong darted a casual look at Lady Mu. So, what brings you here today? Chapter 566, Work Hard. Chapter 566, Work Hard. Lady Mu said awkwardly, "These two kids are Yao Hao and Yao Ying from the Yao family. They're taking the exam for Imperial College this year and came to me for help. That's why I brought them here to you." Grand Secretary Fong knew perfectly well that this was a very lucrative favor for the Mu family. With what the Yao family had given them, if he didn't give something substantial in return, the Yao family wouldn't leave the matter at that. By then, he himself would be criticized. The old man was anything but foolish. There was no way he would get himself into that. Grand Secretary Fong was a proud old man who wouldn't hesitate to turn people away if he didn't like them. Hence, putting his hands behind his back, he raised his chin, then waved his hand. "I don't teach. Please leave." After that, he turned around and strolled off. Steward Fong and the old steward mocked inwardly. "Weren't you so enthusiastic about teaching Miss Feng Wu just then? Just admit it. You don't like these people." Mu Yao Yao and Lady Mu had yet to recover from the first round of humiliation and were humiliated once again. Uncle. Lady Mu could feel the strange looks the Yao siblings were giving her. She tried to follow Grand Secretary Fong inside to talk to him. But Grand Secretary Fong only waved her off. "Take all your things with you." "Fong Yuan." "Yes." Steward Fong went to him in a hurry. "Starting from today, I'm not receiving any guests. Close the front gate and don't let anyone in." After leaving the instruction, Grand Secretary Fong went back inside. Once Feng Wu and Chaoga were back at the Feng Manor, Feng Wu started reading right away. Chaoga started reading with her, but she was precisely the straight D student she was said to be. Before long, she started yawning until tears ran down her cheeks. She began to doze off. Her head nodded and nodded, then thump. Her forehead hit the table. Feng Wu didn't say anything. Feng Wu and Chaoga had taken 30 books each from the Feng Manor. Chaoga fell asleep before she finished the first page, but Feng Wu just kept on reading. Every time she finished a book, she would close her eyes and go through it in her head. After making sure she had memorized it all, she started on the second book. And the third one, the fourth. While Feng Wu was studying, the rest of her family were busy with their own things as well. Feng Xiaoqi, Uncle Chiu, and Xiuling were all cultivating. The beautiful lady was making a pretty dress for Feng Wu, her movements graceful, while Granny Zhao cooked for the entire family. It was so relaxing and heartwarming. Night set in. The beautiful lady had long gone to bed to get her beauty sleep, but Feng Wu had just finished her 30th book. She rubbed her forehead. It had been a while since she last used her brain this much, and she felt drained. Rising to her feet, Feng Wu went out in the yard and walked around in circles. Looking up at the bright moon, she tried to soothe her aching head a little. Just then, she heard a faint sound from a nearby room. Wait, it was from Qiuling's room. A moment later, Qiuling rushed out, took Feng Wu's hand in excitement, and burst into tears. "You've made a breakthrough?" "Yes." Qiuling cried and laughed at the same time. "Yes, I have." Sob. "After so many years, I've finally made another breakthrough." Feng Wu smiled. "And you're only just getting started. You'll get better and better. This family is counting on you." "I won't let you down, miss." Qiuling felt a strong sense of duty now. Chapter 567. A Genius. Chapter 567. A Genius. Seeing Qiuling run off in excitement, Feng Wu grinned. Things would only get better from now on, for everyone was making progress. The cold night air cleared Feng Wu's head a little, so she went back to the table and picked up the 31st book. Feng Wu was currently reading books on the astronomical calendar. They were obscure, dry as dust, and difficult to comprehend. But what could be more obscure and drier than formation theories? If it hadn't stopped her, this was nothing. Feng Wu went on reading as she told herself this in her head. Feng Wu memorized all 60 books in a single night and was able to bring everything together and understand them thoroughly. Chaoga, on the other hand, was still sleeping. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. It seemed she really needed to figure out a way for the girl. The following day, Feng Wu and Chaoga jumped over the wall and landed in the manor next door. "Miss Wu," Steward Fong was waiting by the wall, and he gave Feng Wu a wry smile. "Miss Wu, I'm afraid you'll have to leave." "Huh?" Feng Wu looked at Steward Fong in bewilderment. Smiling bitterly, Steward Fong told them about the incident with the Yao siblings the day before. He then said to Feng Wu, "My master said that starting from today, we won't be receiving any guests, so..." Feng Wu and Chaoga looked at each other. Seriously? The old man told them to come back today himself. How could he change his mind all of a sudden? Cough. Grand Secretary Fong was taking a walk after breakfast and was headed this way when he saw Feng Wu and Chaoga jump over the wall. He arrived just in time to hear Steward Fong's words. Grand Secretary Fong cleared his throat. The old steward took the hint right away and cast a stern look at Steward Fong. "Miss Feng Wu and Miss Duan here aren't guests." Steward Fong was speechless. Even Lady Mu and Princess Mu counted as guests, but not these two. The Yao siblings had to leave to avoid arousing suspicion because they were candidates this year, but weren't Miss Wu and Miss Duan candidates as well. That was kind of discriminatory. Inwardly, Steward Fong smiled bitterly and said a silent prayer for Princess Mu. Grand Secretary Fong was a very strict tutor. He stared at Feng Wu and Chaoga. Seeing how refreshed and well-rested the two girls looked, Grand Secretary Fong was displeased. "Have you read them all?" the old man said grimly. "Yes, I've read and memorized them all," Feng Wu said confidently. "Shall I put the 60 books back into the stack room?" "Wait," the old man's face darkened. He then gestured at the table. "Put them here." "All right," Feng Wu did as told. Altogether, the stack of books was almost as tall as Grand Secretary Fong. "You've memorized them all?" Grand Secretary Fong frowned. "That's right." Feng Wu stuck out her chest. Grand Secretary Fong frowned and looked even more displeased. He didn't mind dumbness or laziness in a student, but he wouldn't accept lies, especially when one wouldn't admit to it. Picking up a book from the stack, Grand Secretary Fong opened it to a random page and read a line of the text. "Act in unison and like draws to like. Your turn." He deliberately raised his voice at the end, which startled Chaoga, and she almost jumped. However, Feng Wu only stood there proudly with her hands behind her and her back ramrod straight. She recited in a loud, clear voice, "Water runs toward wet spots. Fire ignites dry wood. dragons come with cloud, and tigers come with wind. Everything is after their own kind. Feng Wu went on reciting, and Grand Secretary Fong didn't stop her. Hence, Feng Wu kept going, and before long, she had recited the next 10 pages. Chapter 568. Xiao Wu, you're the best. Chapter 568. Xiao Wu, you're the best. The old man didn't know what to say. All words failed him. Feng Wu had really memorized everything, like she said, and she was reciting the text so fluently. She didn't stop once to try and recall a word. Chao Ge wasn't all that surprised. Growing up with Feng Wu, she had gotten used to such wonders at an early age. A belief took root in her mind when she was little, and it could now no longer be shaken. That belief was Feng Wu was omnipotent. But Grand Secretary Fong didn't know that. He was astonished by how exceptionally retentive Feng Wu's memory was. As the General Secretary of the Empire, and working in a place like Imperial College where all kinds of talented people showed up all the time, he had seen his fair share of genius. However, he didn't want to give in yet. Was it possible that the first book in the stack was the one she had memorized the best? Grand Secretary Fong picked a random book from the stack, opened it, and chose a random paragraph. Kunlun is located in the northwest, where the Empire's temporal palace stands. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. The previous one was the Book of Changes, and this one was the classic of mountains and rivers. Feng Wu searched her memory, and the sentences after that flowed out. Kunlun has a circumference of 800 li and is very high and steep. A tree grows on it, which is over 13 m tall and so thick that 5 people can just get their arms around it. 9 wells are. Feng Wu's recitation was rhythmic and fluent. It was impeccable. Grand Secretary Fong chose several other books and tested Feng Wu on every single one of them. Only then was he forced to admit that Feng Wu had indeed memorized everything well. Ew. Grand Secretary Fong's lips quivered a little. You really haven't read any of these books before. Feng Wu shrugged. In the paper yesterday was the sentence, when all 8 musical instruments are in harmony and the right order, gods and humans alike will be in harmony as well. If I had read those books before, I would have been able to answer those questions. Feng Wu had never read books on these subjects before, and everything she knew was related to cultivation. There was a blank in her knowledge, and she was just starting to fill it in. Grand Secretary Fong agreed. Read more chapter on novel full. You really are an amazing kid. Grand Secretary Fong, who had always been stingy with his compliments, couldn't help but be amazed now. He then asked Feng Wu if she had any paragraph that she didn't understand, which he then explained, making sure that she had a thorough understanding of it. While the old man and the teenage girl were absorbed in learning, Chao Ge was yawning in boredom. Feng Wu didn't know what to do. She took out a manual called Chao Ge Sword and gave it to her friend. There, try this. She had created this manual last night, which was the most suitable for Chao Ge at her current cultivation level. Wait, let me see that. Grand Secretary Fong reached out with his hand, and the booklet ended up in his hand. Grand Secretary Fong began to flip through it. He only nodded appreciatively in the beginning, but soon his eyes widened and he looked up at Feng Wu. Where did you get this? Chao Ge moved closer. Why, it's called Chao Ge Sword, so it had to have been customized for me. It's my own, and I'm going to learn it. Feng Wu said grumpily, I made it for you last night after I finished reciting the books. Of course it's specially made for you. I even named it after you. Wow, Xiao Wu, you're the best. I love you so much. Chao Ge threw her arms around Feng Wu and wouldn't let go. Feng Wu patted her on the shoulder. Shouldn't you be practicing now? Yes, of course. Chao Ge snatched the manual back from Grand Secretary Fong and ran off. The old man didn't know what to say. Chapter 569, 290 points? Chapter 569, 290 points? That's a lot of trust she put in you, Grand Secretary Fong said admiringly. After all, the manual had been written by a mere 13-year-old girl. No one in their right mind would be able to believe it. Feng Wu shrugged. She's a trusting person. That's because she has faith in you. Grand Secretary Fong said emotionally. Xiao Wu, it's very hard to come by a friend whom you can completely trust in life. Many people will live to the end of their days without ever meeting one. You're still so young, and you found that friend. I envy you. Feng Wu grinned. It's my honor to have her as a friend, and it was very lucky for her to have met you as well. Grand Secretary Fong was a little surprised by Feng Wu's reply. Was she really a girl of 13? Sometimes, Grand Secretary Fong found her frighteningly mature. By the way, Grand Secretary Fong gestured at Chaoga, who was sitting in a tree a few steps away. What are you going to do about that kid? Feng Wu smacked her forehead. I'll think of something. Grand Secretary Fong nodded. Feng Wu spent the next few days reading around the clock. Her head had almost gone numb from all the reading, for the texts were all written in a pedantic style. It was only thanks to her great memory that she didn't mix them all up. In a few days, Feng Wu had finished memorizing all 1,000 must-reads. She then moved on to the 10,000 extracurricular books, trying to memorize as much as she could. Gifted with an eidetic memory, she flipped through the pages quickly. The old man had been giving her a set of exam papers every day for the past few days, and her scores rose rapidly. Wow! When Chaoga saw Feng Wu's mark on the paper that day, her mind was blown. 290? Chaoga almost jumped to her feet. Xiao Wu, you got 290? Are you even human? How did you do that? Feng Wu only smiled bitterly. I guess I'm doing all right. She got 290 out of 300, which didn't reach her own personal standard. Grand Secretary Fong darted a look at Feng Wu. Kiddo, give yourself some credit. The college is known for its difficult exam. The highest score on the written exam last year was 260, and you're already 30 points higher. What more do you want? Leave some hope for the ordinary people, all right? Grand Secretary Fong was one of the top guns of Imperial College, and for him to make that comment meant a lot. Feng Wu only gave him a wry smile. The exam is tomorrow. You should get some good rest tonight. You don't have to finish all the books. Don't push yourself too hard. Grand Secretary Fong then sent Feng Wu and Chaoga home early. Watching Feng Wu leave, Grand Secretary Fong put his hands behind his back and recalled a message from Mr. Liu. Yu Minji, the one who's as famous as Jun Linyuan, is taking the exam this year as well. General Secretary Fong smiled in resignation. It seemed that Xiao Wu wasn't going to get the top mark this year. Feng Wu had no idea that Yu Minji was a candidate as well. She and Chaoga took the last 100 books back home. Sitting down on the carpet, Feng Wu grabbed a book and started reading. 1 book, 2 books, 3. She didn't even have time to eat, and Chaoga had to feed her with a spoon. Although Chaoga was still handing in blank sheets, she had gone through a second round of detoxification already. Following that, she was down from 75 kilograms to 60 kilograms. Chapter 570. His Royal Highness is here. Chapter 570. His Royal Highness is here. In the past few days, Chaoga had risen from level 7 to level 9. It happened so fast that even Feng Wu was taken by surprise. As the afternoon flowed into evening, Feng Wu finished 90 books, and there were only 10 to go. Feng Wu could barely keep her eyes open, but she couldn't sleep peacefully knowing that she hadn't gone through all the books. Rubbing her dry eyes, she went on reading. It was deep into the night, and almost everyone was asleep. Bent over the table, Chaoga was already fast asleep. Feng Wu was still reading assiduously. The Crown Prince's residence. Jun Linyuan had been shut in seclusion these days. After that hard-earned breakthrough, he needed some time alone to consolidate what he had learned. Walking out of the magma cave, Jun Linyuan looked stunning with his straight eyebrows and bright eyes. With his back to the glare of the flame, he gave off such an intimidating and relentless air that anyone would drop to their knees at his presence. Your Royal Highness. Feng looked proudly at the Crown Prince, whom he had raised single-handedly. The poker-faced little boy had grown into a poker-faced teenager. It was just that Feng noticed that the Crown Prince looked more human now. Did it have something to do with Miss Wu? Jun Linyuan asked as he marched on. What's the date today? Feng told him the date, then added, Imperial College's entrance exam starts tomorrow. The Crown Prince's cold eyes flickered all of a sudden. The mention of the exam had reminded him of a certain girl, hadn't it? Feng stole a glance at the Crown Prince. His Royal Highness was a neat freak, and the first thing he did after he got out of seclusion was to take a bath and change his clothes so that he could wash off all the dust. However, Jun Linyuan couldn't help but recall what happened the last time he sat down in the hot spring. The girl was still very young, but she had a nice figure, and she was an amazing chiropractor. Jun Linyuan had to admit that his breakthrough had indeed been triggered by the massage she gave him, but he was never going to tell her that, otherwise she would get all proud. When his mind turned to that girl, Jun Linyuan felt as if a writing brush was tickling his heart, and the sensation was very tempting. That was enough. Why would he even think about that girl? She would be so pleased if she knew about this. Vexed, the Crown Prince slapped the water with his hand and rose to his feet. He headed out immediately after he got dressed. Feng followed the Crown Prince out at an appropriate distance. That way, he could still guard and serve his young master, but was also far away enough to give him some privacy. No one could handle things as subtly as Feng. Why is that girl so obnoxious? The Crown Prince bellowed at Feng. Feng rubbed his nose. She ran away as soon as she got what she wanted and turned her back on me. She's so heartless. Feng rubbed his nose. Does she think she can just hide away and I wouldn't go searching? She's so naive. Jun Linyuan dashed out angrily in the direction of the Feng manor. From behind, the Crown Prince looked like a king bent on revenge and who would stop at nothing. Feng was pleased. His Royal Highness had finally found a purpose. That was new. The Feng clan. Feng was stayed up very late. She hadn't been sleeping too well these days, or rather, she hadn't slept much at all. She had only slept for 2 hours in the past 7 days and had spent the rest of the time memorizing. Her brain had been very busy and her mind very active. Feng Wu realized that although she hadn't cultivated for 7 days, Chapter 571. Incoming Crown Prince in 5 seconds. Chapter 571. Incoming Crown Prince in 5 seconds. Although she hadn't cultivated in the past 7 days and had devoted all her attention to the books, reading assiduously had actually cleared her head and significantly strengthened her mind. That was an achievement much harder to obtain than a breakthrough in cultivation. What was more, Feng Wu even felt the urge to break through right then. She was going to put down her book and do that when she heard a tiny sound outside. Someone was there. Feng Wu frowned and turned her sharp gaze to the window. The window was open, revealing a handsome teenage face with pretty features. The teenager beamed, reminding her of the brightest sunlight. Yuminji, staring at the teenager, who rested his chin on his hands and grinned at her from outside her window, Feng Wu asked in bewilderment, "What are you doing here in the middle of the night? Aren't you going to invite me in?" The boy greeted Feng Wu with a wide smile. Feng Wu rolled the eyes. "It's too late, and I shouldn't have male visitors at this hour." "So no." Yuminji pouted, looking rather aggrieved. "Why did you show up here at such a late hour? Speak." "I don't want to," Yuminji said grumpily, still pouting. Feng Wu made a gesture to close the window. "Hey, wait, you're so boorish. Be patient, will you?" "Fine, I'll tell you." "Now, you're so mean." Yuminji gave Feng Wu an accusing look with his big, pretty eyes. All right, I'll tell you. I'm taking the entrance exam for Imperial College tomorrow, and I want you to see me off at the gate. I want to hear you cheer for me and wish me good luck." Feng Wu said, "You need someone to see you off for an exam?" Yuminji looked like an abandoned puppy. "It's a really important exam, and all the parents are going to see their kids off, aren't they? My family is on the other side of the continent. Won't you come with me?" He might sound like the saddest creatures in the world, but Feng Wu didn't believe a word of it. "Your family has the ability to claim its independence from the Junwu Empire. Don't tell me they can't get you a place in Imperial College." "Taking the exam? Are you kidding me?" Feng Wu snapped. "But I don't want to get into that comprehensive college that's just for foreign students. I prefer the martial arts department." Yu Minji kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. Yu Minji narrowed his eyes. Do you know why I applied for Imperial College and why I'm insisting on getting into the martial arts department? Why? Yu Minji almost choked on his own spit. Taking a deep breath, he said, Little Feng Wu, I said all those things because I was waiting for you to tell me yourself. What a coincidence. I'm applying for the martial arts department, too. But you didn't. Feng Wu didn't say anything. Yu Minji grunted. If I didn't have such good connections, I wouldn't even have known that you're taking the exam. I was this close to missing the registration deadline. You heartless woman. He rubbed Feng Wu's head as he spoke, disheveling her already messy hair. Feng Wu pushed him away. Don't touch my hair. I need to get back to my reading. Yu Minji didn't seem offended when Feng Wu brushed him off. He was still grinning with his chin in his hands. If he had a tail, it would be wagging all over the place now. Little Feng Wu. What now? Chapter 572, The Wall-Climbing Crown Prince. Chapter 572, The Wall-Climbing Crown Prince. Yu Minji said in a righteous tone, I'm only going to Imperial College to protect you, so that you won't be bullied. And that means you have to be really nice to me from now on. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Don't go then. Yu Minji grunted. You dishonest girl. I know you're rejoicing secretly. Aren't you? Feng Wu said, No. That successfully silenced Yu Minji. He then mussed Feng Wu's hair like a mischievous boy. Hey, stop it. Feng Wu wasn't his match physically and couldn't stop his mischief. Her hair was in a complete mess, and she was so mad. Ha ha. Seeing Feng Wu's disheveled hair, Yu Minji guffawed. He found a girl so cute that he wanted to take her back home. However, he cringed when he saw the murderous look in her eyes. He then fled the scene. Yu Minji. Stop right there. Feng Wu stomped her foot. But Yu Minji only ran faster. Before Feng Wu knew it, the guy had disappeared into the night. Feng Wu clenched her fists. You won't be so lucky next time. Turning around, Feng Wu saw that Chaogo was bent over the table and fast asleep. Drooling, she hadn't even woken up at all the noise. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. It seemed that nothing worried the girl. Feng Wu loosened her hair, tied it into a simple ponytail, then sat down on a rush cushion, ready to make a breakthrough. She was already a level 4 spiritual grandmaster, and a breakthrough would take her to level 5. However, little did she know that Junlin Yuan was on his way here. And what was even more unexpected was that Yu Minji had spotted Junlin Yuan. The Crown Prince had finally come up with an excuse to see Feng Wu and was hurrying this way in a foul mood. When Junlin Yuan arrived at the scene, enraged, Yu Minji was about to jump onto the wall. Sensing a powerful cultivator approaching, Yu Minji instinctively backed into a corner and hid behind a bush. The Crown Prince was so preoccupied thinking of ways to make Feng Wu plead to him once he saw her that he ignored everything else. Access web novel. Live if you like watching manga, comics. Feng noticed, but didn't think it was a big deal. So, he didn't alert his young master. Yu Minji was baffled. What the heck? Why had Junlin Yuan shown up in the Feng Manor in the middle of the night? Why wasn't he entering through the main gate like a crown prince should? Why was he climbing the wall as well? Yu Minji decided not to go back just yet, for he was worried. He recalled how mean Junlin Yuan was to Xiao Wu. Nothing she did seemed good enough for him, and he was horrible to her. What could he possibly want from her in the middle of the night? Could Junlin Yuan be here for Feng Yinfeng? Not likely. Someone in Feng Yinfeng's position would never invite the Crown Prince over at this late hour. Could he be here to pick on little Feng Wu then? At that thought, Yu Minji decided that he wasn't going anywhere. He was worried about Feng Wu's safety. He walked on tiptoe toward Fallen Star Yard, making sure to be as quiet as possible. Then, under the silver moonlight, Yu Minji made a shocking discovery. Junlin Yuan, the aloof, proud crown prince of the empire, had just jumped onto the wall. He then landed on the other side in Feng Wu's yard. Yu Minji. Instead of going in through the window, Junlin Yuan pushed Feng Wu's door open. It was a critical moment in Feng Wu's breakthrough. She could have done a moment ago, but Yu Minji had shown up and forced her to pause. Chapter 573, Stop Bullying That Girl. Chapter 573, Stop Bullying That Girl. After finally sending Yu Minji away, calming herself down, and clearing her mind, Feng Wu was ready to make a breakthrough. The door opened at that moment. Feng Wu almost jumped to her feet. Who could it be? Feng Wu looked at the door, alarmed. A figure stood there against the silver moonlight, which created a halo around him. He had brooding eyes and a gorgeous figure. He almost looked dazzling under the moonlight. Jun Linyuan, pat her chest. Feng Wu broke into a cold sweat. 1 second more, and she would have entered the state of meditation. If that happened, Jun Linyuan would realize that she was cultivating and had her ability back. Thinking about it logically, he would be reminded of that immortal spiritual fruit back in northern Border City. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. That would be a total disaster. Because of the interruption, Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. What are you doing here? Jun Linyuan stood there proudly after pushing the door open. He was waiting for Feng Wu's to plead with him, but instead, he only got that impatient question. He was displeased. His eyes glinted as his murderous gaze locked on Feng Wu. Feng Wu stepped back involuntarily. Jun Linyuan entered the room and slammed the door shut behind him. It didn't wake Chaoga, for Feng Wu had fed her some antidote and the girl was undergoing detoxification at the moment. She was sleeping so soundly that not even thunder would be loud enough to wake her. Feng Xiaoqi and the rest of the family knew nothing about the situation here, for Feng had put up a soundproof barrier around the room, and no one in the neighboring rooms would hear a thing. Inside, face livid, Jun Linyuan walked toward Feng Wu with a grim look in his eyes. Feng Wu stumbled back involuntarily. Jun Linyuan, W, what are you doing? D, don't come any closer. Feng Wu kept stumbling back. But Jun Linyuan only gave her a crooked smile. As Jun Linyuan pressed forward, Feng Wu backed off. In the end, Feng Wu was forced into a corner, and Jun Linyuan hemmed her in with his right arm. The air suddenly felt very warm. Outside, Yu Minji had been following Jun Linyuan stealthily. He saw Jun Linyuan enter Feng Wu's room and close the door behind him. Yu Minji then heard Feng Wu's voice. Jun Linyuan, stay away from me. Your hands, hey. Yu Minji was incensed. Yu Minji charged out impulsively and kicked the door. He yelled as he kicked, Jun Linyuan, stop what you're doing. Is that what you like? To bully girls? I looked up to you. I never thought you were this kind of person. Open up. Open up. Open up. Yu Minji kept kicking the door. Jun Linyuan was enjoying the moment with Feng Wu so close. He bent over when Feng Wu turned her head the other way. The corner of his mouth happened to brush against her smooth cheek, and the warm sensation made his heart skip a beat. However, Yu Minji's furious voice rang out, and Jun Linyuan frowned. He was distracted for a brief moment. Thud! Feng Wu took the opportunity to step hard on his foot. She spared no strength. SSSS. Even Jun Linyuan's face changed color, and he stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. How dare she do that to him? Feng Wu freed herself from the little confined space created by Jun Linyuan's arm. She glared at him with an alarmed look on her face. At that moment, Yu Minji broke into the room. Chapter 574. I'm going to challenge you to a duel. Chapter 574. I'm going to challenge you to a duel. Yu Minji grabbed Feng Wu, pulled her behind him, and stared at Jun Linyuan bravely. Jun Linyuan, I didn't know you could be so despicable. Jun Linyuan's stunning face had turned livid, and he was especially enraged when he saw Yu Minji pull Feng Wu behind him. Jun Linyuan felt like choking the guy with his bare hands. Yu Minji cringed a little when he noticed how frightening Jun Linyuan looked. After all, he might be as famous as Jun Linyuan, but everyone, Yu Minji himself included, knew that was only because the Yu family had gone to a lot of effort to make Yu Minji sound more superior than he actually was. Yu Minji had mixed feelings toward Jun Linyuan. Although he saw Jun Linyuan as his greatest rival, deep down, he still admired the guy and looked up to him. Hence, when Jun Linyuan shifted his piercing gaze to Yu Minji, the latter felt as if he had just been shot with an arrow. Jun Linyuan said through gritted teeth, "Out of my way." He was so intimidating. Yu Minji stumbled back involuntarily. But he stopped almost right away. No, he couldn't back off now, for little Feng Wu was behind him. He had to protect little Feng Wu and make the girl look up to him. Yu Minji clenched his fists and encouraged himself. Man up. Thus, Yu Minji summoned up his courage, took a step forward, and pointed a finger at Jun Linyuan. "I'm challenging you to a duel." Seriously, Jun Linyuan wasn't the only one rendered speechless. A short distance away, Feng gave Yu Minji a thumbs up in his head. The young man had some balls. No one said a word. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was staring at the back of Yu Minji's head in resignation and at a loss over what to say. Then, Yu Minji gave Feng Wu a little kick with his heel. Feng Wu was confused. "What?" Lowering his voice, Yu Minji prompted her in a serious tone. "Clap for me. Now." Feng Wu was baffled. "Clap," Yu Minji said earnestly. "I'm scared." "Clap for me." Feng Wu rolled her eyes. "Read comics on our web novel. Live." Standing outside, Feng was as still as a statue. Despite his calm face, he was cracking up inwardly. That silly boy was so amusing. However, His Royal Highness didn't find Yu Minji amusing at all. Staring at the latter with his intimidating gaze, Jun Linyuan stepped forward, his eyes flickering. Yu Minji fell back a step, dragging Feng Wu with him. He raised his chin and stared back at Jun Linyuan. It was only human nature to feel scared in Jun Linyuan's presence. Instinctively, Yu Minji was flustered by Jun Linyuan's glare, but he wouldn't budge, not when the girl he liked was watching. Hence, he pointed at Jun Linyuan with a shaky finger, while backing away with Feng Wu. Do you think you can intimidate me just because you're famous?" "In no way." "There, I'm challenging you." Jun Linyuan smirked. "You want to challenge me? Fine, I agree." Yu Minji was baffled. He agreed. Jun Linyuan said with a crooked smile, "Tomorrow, midnight, at the top of Imperial Capital Tower." Yu Minji didn't know what to say. Jun Linyuan snorted. Scared now, Feng Wu was watching, and Yu Minji had no choice but to play the tough guy. He raised his chin. "Of course not. Shouldn't you be on your way now?" Jun Linyuan glanced at him. "What? You can't bully my Xiao Wu while I'm away. You're Xiao Su." His Royal Highness smirked. Yu Minji clenched his fists. "Fine. You have to leave her alone if I win." Chapter 575. A Phenomenal Duel? Chapter 575. A Phenomenal Duel. Yu Minji left in a hurry after those words. Somewhere else in the Feng manor, Feng Yinfeng's family was sleeping. Lady Wang nudged Feng Yinfeng's arm in the dark, but Feng Yinfeng was only half awake. Lady Wang mumbled, "Why is it so noisy tonight? Is it?" Feng Yinfeng didn't think so. "I think I heard something in the direction of Fallen Star Yard." Lady Wang frowned. "You heard wrong," Feng Yinfeng said impatiently. Since she was already awake, Lady Wang went on. "By the way, Lord Wan's wife came to visit today, and she had a marriage proposal for Xiao Lu." Feng Yinfeng frowned. "That's right." Lady Wang nodded with a smile. "That's the Ning family, right? Who's the guy?" "Ning Chenxi. He's the son of Ning Ziyuan, the governor of Anyuan province," said Lady Wang with a smile. Ning Ziyuan? Feng Yinfeng, who was about to go back to sleep, was wide awake after hearing that name. Ning Ziyuan's family and Northern Feng General are related through marriage, as well as to the Yin family. Ning Ziyuan himself is also a commander of a border province. That's wonderful. They really have their eye on Feng Lu, then? Feng Yinfeng found it hard to believe. Had Feng Lu's ruined reputation not gotten out then? Lady Wang gloated. "I was told that Ning Chenxi fell in love with Xiao Lu as soon as he set eyes on her on their way back from the northern border to the imperial capital. He couldn't stop thinking about her, and it was like a lovesickness. He wants to marry no one but Xiao Lu." Feng Yinfeng sat up in excitement and smacked his own thigh. That's great news. Tell them tomorrow. No, no. Lady Wang shook her head. Ning Chenxi is so infatuated with Xiao Lu. That's what will seal the deal. If that's the case, we can't say yes so soon. Let's wait a few days. Feng Yinfeng found that suggestion reasonable. This was the perfect time to assume heirs. Good idea. Let the Ning family wait. Isn't that Ning Chenxi applying for Imperial College this year? We'll talk about the marriage proposal after he gets in. Lady Wang nodded with a smile. Lu Heir is taking the exam this year as well. I don't know if she can get in. Lady Wang was a little concerned. Feng Lu's cultivation level wasn't advanced enough, but the clan had provided her with a lot of resources lately, and even the elders of the clan had offered to teach her themselves. In the end, they managed to elevate Feng Lu from level 7 to level 9, which qualified her for the exam. Go back to bed. We're taking Xiao Lu to Imperial College tomorrow morning for the exam, said Lady Wang. I hope Xiao Lu can get in this time. Based on the scores Feng Lu had been getting from the mock exam papers, Feng Yinfeng didn't think she stood too good a chance. Lady Wang snapped. Of course Xiao Lu will get in. The clan has put in so much for her. It reminded Feng Yinfeng of Feng Wu back in the day, and he sighed with emotion. Come to think of it, Xiao was really a genius back then. She was only 7 or 8 when she... Lady Wang wanted to tear the duvet to pieces with her teeth. Xiao Wu. She hated that name. She snorted. She was awesome back then, so what? She's a cripple without any trace of spiritual essence now. All she can do is be trampled on by our Xiao Lu. Feng Yinfeng heaved a sigh. What are you sighing for? Lady Wang smirked. Xiao Lu is taking the exam of Imperial College tomorrow. What can that Feng Wu do? She can't even set foot in the exam room. Feng Yinfeng had to agree with her. Meanwhile, in Fallen Star Yard, Yu Minji had left. Eager to act, he wanted to camp out in Imperial Capital Tower first and wait for that phenomenal duel. However, Chapter 576 taken. Chapter 576 taken. Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan. Yu Minji is gone. Can you please leave now? After getting rid of Yu Minji, the crown prince finally cheered up a little, but what Feng Wu said displeased him right away. He glowered at Feng Wu with his cold, angry eyes. Who is he to you? Jun Linyuan's face was livid. No one. Then why did he show up here in the middle of the night? I don't need to answer to you. Speak. Jun Linyuan stared at her intensely. Feng Wu was furious. Who am I to you then? Jun Linyuan smirked. Don't flatter yourself. You're nothing to me. Feng Wu snickered. Of course. We're nothing to each other. So, why did you kick open my door, enter my room, and won't leave? Jun Linyuan was rendered speechless. His eyes were like bottomless pits, and he glared at Feng Wu, as if he wanted to eat her whole. Flame seemed to surge out of those grim eyes. He looked terrifyingly unapproachable. Anyone else would have dropped to their knees under such a stare. Even Yu Minji's legs almost gave out when Jun Linyuan stared at him like this. But not Feng Wu. She stood there proudly and unperturbed. She even looked back at Jun Linyuan with equally cold eyes. Her perfect composure and her unbending will were exactly why Feng thought that Feng Wu was the only right person for his royal highness on the entire continent. Feng Wu, how dare you speak to me like that? Jun Linyuan clenched his fists, and he smashed them down on the table. Crumble. The wooden table shattered into pieces and scattered all over the floor. Feng Wu didn't say anything. Feng Wu couldn't imagine what would happen if one of his fists had landed on her head. Staring at Feng Wu, Jun Linyuan moved closer and hemmed her in. Shit. Feng Wu had a bad feeling about this. If she let him corner her like before, he would do what he wanted with her again. She wouldn't let that happen. The closed window gave Feng Wu an idea. She bolted. Feng Wu was very fast, but Jun Linyuan was faster. Feng Wu had almost jumped out the window when Jun Linyuan caught Feng Wu's right foot with his right hand. Feng Wu was still wearing her fluffy homemade cotton slippers when he grabbed her by the ankle. She was wearing a loose-fitting casual dress at home with a fluffy robe over her shoulders. Feng Wu had designed the clothes herself, and her beautiful mother made everything from scratch. It was an exquisite outfit. Caught by her right ankle, Feng Wu fell forward. However, before she smashed on the window pane, Jun Lin Yuan tossed her upward. Everything was a blur all of a sudden. Before she realized it, Jun Lin Yuan had thrown her over his shoulder and jumped onto the roof. The next moment, he dashed out into the night, taking Feng Wu with him. Feng Wu. Houses flitted past them on both sides, and the chilly night wind blew against her neck. Feng Wu was flabbergasted. She had been kidnapped. Jun Lin Yuan had taken her against her will. Where are you taking me? Put me down. Feng Wu was furious. She still had 10 books left to read. Although they were in her ring and she could take them out at any moment, she needed to first find the time to read them. Chapter 577. A Duel? Chapter 577. A Duel. Feng Wu could be a little obsessive at times. If 1,000 books had to be memorized, the thought of leaving one unread would keep her awake at night. Right now, she still had 10 more to go out of the extra 10,000 books on the reading list, and she was overwhelmed with anxiety. Put me down. I need to go read. Feng Wu was almost in tears. But Jun Lin Yuan moved as fast as a streak of lightning, even with Feng Wu over his shoulder, as if she was no heavier than a doll. Wind rushed down Feng Wu's throat whenever she tried to speak, so she eventually stopped trying, for there was no point. About an hour later, Feng Wu realized that the wind had stopped blowing and Jun Lin Yuan had stopped running. Put me down. Now. Feng Wu pounded his back with her little fists. This time, His Royal Highness, the emotionless iceberg, finally did as told. He put Feng Wu down on the ground. When he saw Feng Wu's disheveled hair, he narrowed his eyes a little. Feng Wu glowered at him. She was wearing loose-fitting, comfortable home clothes, and her hair had been held up by just a single hairpin, which had obviously fallen out along the way. And Jun Lin Yuan had been running so fast that the wind had mussed up Feng Wu's hair. I've lost my hairpin. Feng Wu glared at Jun Lin Yuan accusingly. It's all your fault. Why did you bring me here in the middle of the night? Was she angry? Jun Lin Yuan frowned a little. He recalled what Feng Sun had told him. Need a place for a date? That's easy. Go to Lovebird Valley. You can talk about poems and life under the stars and the moon and watch the sunrise together. So, Feng Sun had offered a really bad idea, hadn't he? The frown on Jun Lin Yuan's face grew bigger. Jun Lin Yuan pursed his lips and made a mental note that he would have a long chat with Feng Sun after he went back. You don't know why you're here? Jun Lin Yuan smirked. I brought you here so that you wouldn't hang out with that Yuminji. That reminded Feng Wu, and she prompted Jun Lin Yuan. It's about time. Aren't the two of you going to duel on Imperial Capital Tower? Go ahead. Jun Lin Yuan snapped. What duel? He can cool his head on that tower tonight. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. At the same time, up in Imperial Capital Tower, Yuminji had arrived at the scene early. It was a duel with Jun Lin Yuan, and he had to prepare. Yuminji had left Feng Manor in a hurry to consult his 3 elders. Elder 3 snorted. Imperial Capital Tower? His Royal Highness is too confident in himself. How so? Yuminji asked in a hurry. Elder 3 lowered his voice and laid out his plan. Yuminji's eyes sparkled. Great. That's a great idea. Ho-ho, Jun Lin Yuan, you're not leaving that tower alive tonight. Hence, the 4 of them started preparations. They set up lead wires on Imperial Capital Tower, so that when the time came, they could attract a thunderbolt, burning Jun Lin Yuan to a crisp. At the thought of that fair-skinned Jun Lin Yuan turning into crispy bacon, Yuminji couldn't help but guffaw. Once they were done with preparations, he stood on Imperial Capital Tower in the cold night wind. It was really cold. In order not to raise any sort of alarm, the 3 elders retreated to make sure that Yuminji was the only person within a 50 kilometers radius. Imperial Capital Tower was about 1,000 meters high. Chapter 578. Under the Moonlit Sky. Chapter 578, Under the Moonlit Sky. There was nothing to shield one from the chilly wind-up on Imperial Capital Tower. SSSS. Yu Minji shivered in the cold. Up on the top floor, he looked into the distance and saw that it was pitch dark in the Imperial capital. The silver moon was behind thick clouds, revealing not a single trace of light. All the lights were out in the city down below. There wasn't a soul around, and the wind was blowing. It was miserable for Yu Minji staying up there. 15 minutes passed. An hour. 2 hours. Yu Minji sat there with his arms around himself and trembled. But he was on the alert. After that last incident in northern border city, where Jun Linyuan had stepped on his head, Yu Minji had learned his lesson. Despite shivering from head to toe in the chilly wind, he still looked around cautiously, fearing that Jun Linyuan might jump out of some dark corner and kick him down the tower. He could mistake every bush and tree for an enemy at the moment. At the same time, Lovebird Valley. Jun Linyuan was staring at Feng Wu unblinkingly. Feng Wu didn't know what to do with him. Are you sure you can stand Yu Minji up just like that? Jun Linyuan smirked. You care about him a lot, don't you? Feng Wu was speechless. The guy could distort everything that came out of her mouth, and Feng Wu was exhausted. I want to go back. No. Jun Linyuan then dragged Feng Wu to a giant rock and made her sit down. Feng Wu said, I have an exam to take tomorrow. Can't you just let me go? God knew how hard Feng Wu had worked for that exam. To memorize those 1,000 books and read those 10,000 books, she had barely slept in the past 7 days. She almost didn't have time to eat and could only grab a bite while she was still reading. There were dark circles under Feng Wu's eyes. Jun Linyuan fixed his gaze on those circles. When was the last time she slept? Did she have to work that hard? Read more chapter on novel full. He was even angrier when he recalled that Yu Minji was taking the exam as well. If you want to take the exam so much, get the top score then. He wanted to say something caring, but the words which came out were cold and relentless. Feng Wu glowered at Jun Linyuan. You know what? You have to get full marks. Feng Wu glowered at Jun Linyuan. In both the written exam and the physical tryout. Otherwise, say goodbye to your broken star piece. Jun Linyuan smirked. You're friends with Yu Minji, right? Get a higher score than him, and we'll see how friendly the two of you can be. Feng Wu said, Jun Linyuan, are you kidding me? Jun Linyuan looked back at her. Since when do I make jokes? Feng Wu clenched her fists so tightly that her knuckles cracked. That was outrageous. Feng Wu took one deep breath after another, but still couldn't control her rage. She turned to leave. Leave now, and you won't make it to the exam tomorrow. Jun Linyuan's eyes flickered. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu turned around and glared at Jun Linyuan. You just can't let a day pass without threatening someone, can you? Jun Linyuan snorted. I see you don't want that broken star piece anymore. Of course I do. And that was what pissed Feng Wu off the most. Fighting back her anger, she forced a smile. So what are we doing here? Enjoying the cold wind? Jun Linyuan made Feng Wu sit down next to him and said grumpily, Stay put. Chapter 579, Lean Over. Chapter 579, Lean Over. What now? To watch the sunrise. But the Crown Prince would never say those words. He thought that it would spoil his image. The dark clouds scattered and the silver moonlight poured down. Feng Wu was exasperated. She couldn't just sit around in silence. It was cold, and it was a waste of her time. Feng Wu quietly took a book out of her pocket and began to read under the moonlight. She still had 10 more to go. She wouldn't have been so concerned, but now, Jun Linyuan had made it clear that she had to be the top student in the exam with full marks. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead and cursed Jun Linyuan in her head. The Crown Prince had no idea what was going on in Feng Wu's mind and went on picking on her. But karma could be such a bitch. A few steps away, Feng said a silent prayer for his young master. Seeing that Feng Wu was reading again, Jun Linyuan flared up and snatched the book out of her hands. I'm right here, and you're looking at a book instead of me. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Jun Linyuan, give me back my book. Jun Linyuan shook his head. Feng Wu exploded. What on earth do you want from me? You told me to get top marks, but won't let me read. And you've taken me here to do what? Enjoy the cold wind. You're making me take the exam, and now you're accusing me of thinking about nothing but the exam? Jun Lin Yuan, you're unbelievable. Feng Wu really had had enough of him, and she was seriously pissed. He had it coming. A few steps away, Feng gave Feng Wu a thumbs up in his head. Now that she had lost her temper, Jun Lin Yuan was intimidated. He bit his lower lip and his cheeks puffed out. Feng Wu snatched the book back and snapped at him. Go away. I need to read. You're not going to sleep? Jun Lin Yuan asked in disappointment. Feng Wu said, I only have a few books left, and I can't sleep until I finish them all. She quickly flipped through the pages, and Jun Lin Yuan watched her as she read. Seeing her flushed cheeks and the way she huddled up in the cold wind, Jun Lin Yuan took off his thick cape and threw it over her shoulders. The longer he looked at the dark circles under her eyes, the angrier Jun Lin Yuan became. Was she ever going to sleep? She looked like a panda. Before he knew it, Jun Lin Yuan began to pity the girl. He opened his mouth and tried to tell her that she didn't have to be the top student or get full marks, but the proud crown prince couldn't bring himself to say those words. Under the warm cape, Feng Wu felt more and more sleepy. Her head nodded, and she began to doze off. Jun Lin Yuan couldn't take it anymore. With a flick of his fingers, he hit Feng Wu in the acupoint, which could make her fall asleep. The book fell from Feng Wu's hands, and the girl, who hadn't slept properly in 7 days, crumpled to one side. Jun Lin Yuan caught Feng Wu in his arms before she hit the ground. The smell of the teenage girl filled his nostrils as he held her soft body. Her flawless face looked tiny under that big cape. Her fair skin was almost transparent, the outline of her chin was soft and delicate, and her lips were full and pink, which looked so yummy that he wanted to take a bite. Under the moonlight, Jun Lin Yuan stared at Feng Wu's face and was lost in her beauty. Before he knew it, he had leaned over. Chapter 580, Puffed Up with Arrogance. Chapter 580, Puffed Up with Arrogance. Feng Wu was woken up by the chirping of birds and the cries of insects. Rubbing her sleepy eyes, she yawned and opened her eyes. She was welcomed by the brilliant morning sun. The air was fresh, the grass verdant green, and there were splendid flowers everywhere. Feng Wu was bewildered. What was this place? She rubbed her eyes again, and things began to come back to her. Last night, Jun Lin Yuan had snatched her, took off into the cold night, and ran all the way here to this valley. She recalled that she had a row with Jun Lin Yuan before returning to her reading under the moonlight. Then she fell asleep. Feng Wu frowned. That didn't feel right. With her self-discipline, she wouldn't let herself go to sleep before she finished all her books. What happened last night? Just then, footsteps came from behind her. The person was very quiet, as if they were afraid to wake her up. Feng Wu raised her head and looked right into Jun Lin Yuan's brooding eyes. It happened so suddenly that he didn't have time to hide his emotions. Feng Wu could see them all in his eyes. However, Feng Wu was busy checking her sleep acupoint and failed to notice them. Jun Lin Yuan immediately shifted his gaze and turned his head away. If one were to look at him now, they would only see an indecipherable look in his eyes. He had a colorful chicken in one hand. A short distance away, a pot was being heated over a small fire. Seeing Feng Wu look his way, Jun Lin Yuan tossed the chicken at Feng Wu and casually said, "You lazy girl. It's time to make some breakfast." Feng Wu ignored the chicken and let it fall to the ground. She stared at Jun Lin Yuan with cold eyes as she seethed with anger. Seeing that Feng Wu was just standing there and sulking, Jun Lin Yuan frowned and looked back at her with his sharp eyes. "Jun Lin Yuan, it was you, wasn't it?" Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu tried her best to keep her anger at bay. "You hit my sleep acupoint last night, didn't you?" A grim look flickered in Jun Lin Yuan's eyes. "I've checked. There's a slight blockage in my sleep acupoint, and you're the only one here that could have done that. Just admit it." Feng Wu flared up. She hadn't finished reading her books. How could he do such a thing? Feng Wu was practically spitting fire from her eyes. June Linyuan was angry and aggrieved. Read more chapter on novelful. He had done it because she looked so tired and he pitied her. What was wrong with that? The more June Linyuan thought about it, the angrier and more aggrieved he felt. However, he decided that a man shouldn't quibble with a woman over such petty things. Glaring at Feng Wu, he said, "Hurry up and cook the chicken. Do you want breakfast or not?" Feng Wu was too pissed to eat anything. Overwhelmed with rage, she could no longer think straight. She rushed over and kicked at the fire. Smack! The pot flew out and the half-cooked porridge splashed all over the ground. June Linyuan was dumbfounded. A few steps away, Feng was equally astonished. Miss Wu, did she realize how difficult it was to make a pot of porridge in the middle of nowhere? As the top steward of the empire, he actually had to go back to the crown prince's residence before sunrise to fetch all the utensils. And His Royal Highness, that stove, the wooden frame, and the rice. His Royal Highness had prepared everything himself. Yes, June Linyuan had done all those things himself. The same June Linyuan that was known to be puffed up with arrogance. Chapter 581. So Mad. Chapter 581. So Mad. Other people would have passed out with joy if June Linyuan had started conversation with them. And now, this was the first time His Royal Highness had ever cooked something himself. He hadn't even washed chopsticks for his grandmother, who had doted on him. But Miss Wu had kicked that pot of porridge to the ground. Feng broke out in a cold sweat of anxiety. As expected, June Linyuan's face turned livid, and he stared at Feng Wu with a murderous look in his eyes. But Feng Wu was no less pissed than he was. "June Linyuan, how could you do this to me? How could you make me sleep? I haven't finished reading my books. What if I can't get first place or full marks? Your terms are already so harsh, and you just keep making more trouble for me. I hate you." Feng Wu got angrier and more aggrieved as she spoke, and tears began to well up in her pretty eyes. "I can forget about the books for now. Just tell me this. Do you know that Imperial College's entrance exam is today?" The answer is obviously yes. "But you still brought me here against my will and left me in the middle of nowhere. Not only did I have to stand all the bug bites in the cold wind, I couldn't even read. And you made me sleep. Do you know what time it is now? And do you know when the exam starts? It's almost 9 o'clock. It's 5 to 9 in the morning. And the exam starts at 9. How am I supposed to get there in time? The exam will probably be over when I get there. June Linyuan, you're the worst." Feng Wu was so mad and so aggrieved that she couldn't keep her tears back anymore. She turned to leave without giving June Linyuan any chance to explain himself. June Linyuan was astonished. He still stood there dazed after Feng Wu was gone. "Your Royal Highness." Seeing June Linyuan's livid face, Feng quietly went up to his master. June Linyuan took a deep breath, but still couldn't hold back his anger. He kicked a giant oval rock. Rumble. The giant rock the size of a house instantly crumbled to pieces. Gesturing in the direction Feng Wu had left in, June Linyuan bellowed. "I only made her sleep for her own good. She looked like a panda. Should I just do nothing? Reading in the moonlight? Has she lost her mind? Her eyes would be ruined." Feng rubbed his nose as his young master stomped his foot in rage. "How was it my fault? I did nothing wrong." June Linyuan yelled at Feng. "Nothing." Feng heaved a long sigh. "Your Royal Highness, Miss Wu is really mad this time. Big deal. She's mad? I'm madder." June Linyuan said proudly. "Miss Wu won't talk to you, and I won't talk to her either." This was the first time he had wanted to cook, and he had actually taken action. But she had kicked the pot over. How dare she? She was so dead. The more June Linyuan thought about it, the more infuriated he became. His Royal Highness was hopeless. Feng sighed inwardly, but he still had to remind his master of something, or the young man would probably never find a girl. "But your Royal Highness, Miss Wu was right about one thing." Chapter 582. The exam starts when she arrives. Chapter 582. The exam starts when she arrives. You're the one forcing her to get into Imperial College, but you're the one making her miss the exam. You told her to get first place, but stopped her from reading. You're making her get full marks, but prevented her from studying by making her sleep. Your Royal Highness, I would be very angry, too, if I were Miss Wu, said Feng in a serious tone. When Feng turned serious, things were really serious. So, Jun Linyuan straightened his back. Is it that serious? Yes, and probably more so than you think, Feng said earnestly. Miss Wu's put so much into this exam. She will only hate you more if she misses it. Your Royal Highness, do you want Miss Wu to hate you? Of course not. But did that mean he was going to swallow that reprimand? Of course, Jun Linyuan wouldn't have it. Feng said, Your Royal Highness, accounts can always be settled afterward. The priority now is the exam. Things should be taken care of in order of their importance and urgency. Feng had a point. Jun Linyuan rolled his eyes at Feng. Use your head. If she's running late, postpone the exam. Feng said, All right, at what time? Jun Linyuan rolled his eyes again. The exam will start when she arrives. Any questions? Feng gave his young master a strange look. If he cared about her so much, why did he have to be so mean when she was around and keep picking on her? Your Royal Highness, girls should be treated gently. Feng tried to talk sense into the Crown Prince. Jun Linyuan shifted his cold gaze to Feng and was back to his proud self again. Gently? She wishes. Feng almost burst out laughing, but he managed to keep his face unperturbed. Jun Linyuan snorted. She's not to be told about this. You'll have me to answer to if she knows I did this. Feng was speechless. Talk about doing exactly the opposite. Your Royal Highness, you're the perfect example. Feng was exhausted inside out. Not only did he have to arrange a secret escort to keep Feng Wu safe on her way back, he had to come up with a good excuse to delay the exam. Feng Wu had no idea of any of that, nor did she know about the conversation between Jun Linyuan and Feng. After storming off, she rushed all the way down the mountain and was dumbfounded. Which way was the city? Was she supposed to run all the way back? It was 9 o'clock already, and the exam started at 9. Would she get there in time? Feng Wu searched her memory and recalled that it had taken Jun Linyuan almost an hour to arrive here last night. Feng Wu. It would be noon by the time she got back to the Imperial capital. At that moment, Feng Wu was seriously considering murdering Jun Linyuan. She was overwhelmed by despair when, clip-clop, clip-clop, she heard the sound of a horse coming her way from behind. Feng Wu turned around and her eyes lit up. Is that a galloping horse? The fastest horse ever. Feng Wu looked up at the rider and saw a teenager with fine features. He wore a fitting blue brocade robe and had an elegant air to him. Without thinking, Feng Wu grabbed the bridle and pushed the teenager out of the saddle. What? The elegant teenager had been arrested by Feng Wu's beautiful face as soon as he spotted her, and he was thinking. Chapter 583, Feng Wu the Robber. Chapter 583, Feng Wu the Robber. The nice-looking teenager had been reciting a poem about how the girl was so beautiful she was beyond description. However, the next moment, that genteel girl who looked softer and slimmer than a willow branch. She jumped up, kicked him out of the saddle, and robbed him of his horse. Not only that, she also tossed a spiritual stone onto his chest, as if she was sending a beggar away. I'll take it. After that, with a clatter of hooves, the girl disappeared into the distance with the horse. The teenager was speechless. He was the son of an emperor, for Christ's sake. Spirit stones were the least of his concern. Feng Wu had no idea that she had just forced her offer on a royal prince. All she could think of was getting to Imperial College ASAP. The exam. Feng Wu was worried sick. After all the hard work and all the books she had read and recited, if her chance was ruined because she was late to the exam, she didn't think she would be able to take it. Hiya! Faster, faster, faster. Blood rumbled in Feng Wu's ears, and the wind grazed her cheeks like blades. All she could think of now was whether she could still go in when she arrived late. Chava should have gone in already, right? While Jun Linyuan was giving Feng Wu a hard time, Yuminji had a rough night as well. He spent the whole night shivering on Imperial Capitol Tower, jumping at every little noise. A wolf howled in the middle of the night, and he thought it was June Lin Yuan coming. He almost jumped off the tower in fright. In the end, he was so cold that he had to catch the wolf, skin it, and turn it into a stew. However, he ate until the day broke, and June Lin Yuan still didn't show up. Feng Wu rode the horse as fast as she could, and it still took her 2 hours to get to town. By then, Feng Wu almost had a nervous breakdown. It was a 2-hour ride, which meant that it was 11 o'clock already. The exam would have finished by now. Feng Wu heaved a long sigh, but she wouldn't give up just yet and still rushed to Imperial College as soon as she could manage. However, she was astonished when she arrived at the square outside the college. What? That wasn't right. Why were there so many people? A lot of parents were here, but there were teenagers as well who looked like exam candidates. Read more chapter on Novel Full. Jumping off the horse, Feng Wu grabbed the first person she saw and asked, "Has the exam started yet?" The person she asked was a teenager with delicate features. He was dazed by Feng Wu's beauty when he saw her face. Involuntarily, he blushed and lowered his gaze. However, he then spotted Feng Wu's fluffy pajamas and her fluffy slippers. He raised his head in astonishment and looked at her strangely. "Answer me. Has the exam started yet?" Feng Wu glared at him. "Oh, right." The teenager came back to himself and replied, "No, it hasn't. How come? Shouldn't it have started like 2 hours ago?" Feng Wu's eyes widened in surprise. In that moment, all her anxiety was gone, turning into curiosity instead. Before the teenager could answer, a teenage girl moved closer and said, "Right? It should have started a long time ago, but the exam got postponed." Chapter 584. It is all because of you. Chapter 584. It's all because of you. When will the exam resume, then? Feng Wu was thrilled. Holy crap. Someone up there must really like her. Otherwise, why would such a thing happen? She was late, and so was the exam? Ha ha. In that moment, Feng Wu was so excited that she wanted to guffaw. It had to be the luckiest day of her life. We have no idea. The girl was very enthusiastic and seemed to make friends quickly. She added, "We don't know if the exam will resume today. We may have to come back tomorrow. By the way, do you know why the exam was postponed?" The girl moved closer, lowered her voice, and blinked at Feng Wu. "Why?" Feng Wu asked curiously. "I heard that it was because Mr. Liu was assassinated," the girl whispered. The boy shook his head. "How does that have anything to do with our exam?" "Who knows? No one has told us anything, anyway, nor do we know when the exam will start." The girl frowned, then her eyes lit up. "Hey, what are your names?" "I'm Yi Qing. Nice to meet you." "I'm Zhao Shu," said the boy quietly. "Feng Wu," said Feng Wu. It had been 5 years since Feng Wu enjoyed her fame, so that name didn't raise an alarm. Yi Qing grinned. "Feng Wu? Where have I heard that name before?" "Right, there was this golden girl who had that name as well. Guess what? I used to live in her shadow when I was little." "Did you?" Feng Wu rubbed her nose. Zhao Shu and Yi Qing both had something to say on the matter. Zhao Shu sighed. "That's right. Back then, Feng Wu meant so much. All the boys used to stand in His Royal Highness's shadow, and all the girls in Feng Wu's." Yi Qing nodded. "I really liked Feng Wu, and I can't stop wondering what happened to her. Come to think of it, those people out there are so awful. Feng Wu has to be the one who suffered the most from losing her ability. She was the victim, for God's sake. But the only thing those people did was add insult to injury and scoff at her. Shame on them." Zhao Shu said, "But didn't they say that Feng Wu crippled herself because she got greedy in her cultivation?" Yi Qing snorted. "And you believe that? Plus, so what if she lost her ability because she tried to move past her limits? Everyone wants to become better and stronger. Since when was that a crime?" Zhao Shu rubbed his nose. "I didn't say she did anything wrong." Since the exam hadn't started, Feng Wu found a corner to take off her pajamas and change into a simple pale blue outfit instead. She wandered around, looking for Chaoga, but the latter was nowhere to be seen. She was sure that Chaoga had to be looking for her as well. At that moment, outside the gate of Imperial College, Mr. Liu's stately figure showed up in front of everyone. Mr. Liu, it's Mr. Liu. Everyone began to shout and cry when they saw Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, why is the exam postponed? Mr. Liu, when will the exam begin? Mr. Liu. The crowd kept pushing forward and the slim Feng Wu ended up at the front. Chapter 585, The Exam Starts Now. Chapter 585, The Exam Starts Now. Someone bumped into Feng Wu and almost pushed her out of the line. Mr. Liu noticed Feng Wu when he turned to look that way. He heaved a sigh of relief when he recognized her, and the look he gave her was full of grievance. Before, he actually had no idea when to start the exam, but as soon as he spotted Feng Wu, Mr. Liu knew that he could make the announcement now. He gave Feng Wu another aggrieved and accusing look, which gave Feng Wu the creeps. What was that about? Mr. Liu waved his hand. We can proceed with the exam now. Line up for inspection. The exam starts in an hour. He turned to leave after another wave of his hand. What a day. Now, he had to go to court to explain everything to His Majesty. Delaying the national exam was too big a deal even for the head of Imperial College to do without a good reason. At that thought, Mr. Liu gave Feng Wu an aggrieved look for the third time today. Feng Wu didn't say anything. That felt so weird. Duan Chaoga, why are you here? There came a shrill voice. Feng Wu was looking for Chaoga herself. Hearing that voice, she immediately rushed in that direction. In the center of the crowd, holding two sets of stationery in her hands, Chaoga was glaring at someone opposite her. And they were people Feng Wu had met recently. Chaoga's two elder half-sisters, Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue. 7 days ago, Duan Chaoga was taken and Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue got beaten up. That day, the two sisters stopped their father from looking for Chaoga. That was to say, the Duan family abandoned Duan Chaoga. The two sisters were certain that Duan Chaoga would die a miserable death after being snatched. Little did they expect her to show up here. H, why are you here? Shouldn't you be dead by now? Duan Chaoyin frowned and stared at Chaoga contemptuously. Chaoga smirked. You really want me dead, don't you? Well, you're not getting what you want. You'll have to die first. How dare you talk to your big sister like that? My big sister wants me dead. I've got even worse things to say. Chaoga snorted. Duan Chaoyin was furious. What had happened to Chaoga? She used to be such a dumb girl and never talked back. All she did was try to fight back physically, but she wasn't their match and would always end up miserable. But now, Chaoga. Just then, Feng Wu arrived at Chaoga's side. Hearing that voice, Chaoga turned around and spotted Feng Wu. She was over the moon. Xiao Wu! Xiao Wu! Chaoga jumped at Feng Wu and flung her arms around the ladder. Xiao Wu, you're finally back. Sob. I woke up this morning to find the window open, but you were nowhere to be seen. I was so worried. Are you here alone? No. Everyone is here, and they're out looking for you. Uncle Chiu said that I would be late for the exam if we waited for you at home, so we all came here to look for you. You're really here, Sob. Chaoga was so glib and quick to react when Duan Chaoyin and Duan Chaoyue gave her attitude, but she was almost in tears when she finally saw Feng Wu. Her biggest fear was finally gone. Silly girl. Feng Wu rubbed her head. Just then, they heard a contemptuous voice. Xiao Wu, as in Feng Wu? Duan Chaoyin snickered. She then scrutinized Feng Wu with a smirk on her face. Chapter 586, Kneel and Apologize. Chapter 586, Kneel and Apologize. Feng Wu had no intention of talking to them. Taking Chaoga's hand, she was going to leave, but... So, you're Feng Wu. Duan Chaoyin said loudly. Going up to Feng Wu and walking around her, Duan Chaoyin smacked her lips. You really are as pretty as they say. Good job. Feng Wu considered the two sisters a joke, and she was going to lead Chaoga out of the crowd. It would be a waste of her life to talk to them. Feng Wu, do you know that Duan Chaoga was poisoned? Do you know that her cultivation level dropped? Do you know she was kidnapped? Do you know that her engagement was canceled? Do you know The noise over here soon attracted some attention. Feng Wu frowned. Duan Chaoyin wanted to humiliate Chaoga in front of everyone. Smack! There came the sound of a hard slap. It was quick and accurate, and Duan Chaoyin spun around at the impact. She was dumbfounded. She was slapped by a cripple. Feng Wu, you're dead. Duan Chaoyin wanted to jump at Feng Wu and tear her to pieces, but, Feng Wu, what are you doing here? A voice came from behind them. Turning around, Feng Wu saw the face of her all-time enemy. Lady Wang was here. Lady Wang had accompanied Feng Lu here for the exam today. She was drawn over by the hubbub of voices, but she spotted Feng Wu among the crowd. She frowned and gave Feng Wu a dangerous look. Read more chapter on novel full. The Duan family recognized Lady Wang. Duan Chaoyin's mother was actually quite familiar with Lady Wang, for they would often meet at social events. Mrs. Duan pointed at Feng Wu in fury and said to Lady Wang, "Is she that Feng Wu from your family? What kind of upbringing did she have? How could she hit another person in public? Is that how the Feng clan teaches their children? Give me an explanation or I'll never let this drop." The exam was about to start and many people were here. The place was packed. Around them, all eyes were on Feng Wu now. Lady Wang's face darkened. She glared at Feng Wu and took a deep breath. "Why are you here? This isn't the right place for you." Feng Lu's eyes went bloodshot red when she saw Feng Wu. The look in her eyes was as cold as ice. "Feng Wu, I feel so ashamed to share the same surname with you." Immediately, many scoffed at Feng Wu. A girl next to Feng Lu tugged at her sleeve and whispered, "Feng Lu, isn't she here to see you off?" Feng Lu smirked. "See me off? You think too highly of my sister here. She hates me so much. Why would she do that? What's she doing here then? How should I know? To admire us for being able to apply for Imperial College, probably. After all, she's a cripple with no spiritual essence at all." Feng Lu shrugged. The onlookers all smirked at Feng Wu. The look on Lady Wang's face turned grimmer, and she bellowed at Feng Wu. "You shouldn't be here. You're not qualified for the exam, and you'll only bring shame to the family. Get lost. Now." Mrs. Duan snorted. "Really? Get lost? Did my Chaoyin just get hit for nothing?" "Mrs. Duan, how do you want this to be handled then?" Lady Wang took a deep breath. She felt so humiliated in front of so many people, and she wanted this to go away ASAP. Chapter 587. Chapter 587. Ha ha ha. She must kneel and apologize. Mrs. Duan was anything but forgiving, and she demanded that Feng Wu get down on her knees. Chaoga smirked. "Forget about the apology already. And kneel? Who the hell do you think you are?" Duan Chaoga, Duan Chaoyin, and Duan Chaoyua bellowed in unison. They never knew that Duan Chaoga could be this daring. "Oh my, what's going on? Why is everyone here? This looks fun." A pretentious, cloying voice came from a short distance away, and everyone turned to look. "Isn't that Princess Mu?" It was indeed Mu Yao Yao, the daughter of the Mu Mansion. "Wow, it's Princess Mu, Grand Secretary Feng's granddaughter." Grand Secretary Feng is one of the 7 members of the Education Board. Although he didn't design the questions this time, he's done so a few times in the past. "So, Princess Mu has an advantage this time, right?" Many eyed Mu Yao Yao expectantly, as if wanting to pry her head open to have a look inside. Some even called out, "Princess Mu, do you know what we're going to be tested on?" Mu Yao Yao rolled her eyes grumpily. She didn't like that question at all. She had thought that Grand Secretary Feng being her grandfather, she was sure to get in. All she needed was a little hint from the old man. However, to her utmost surprise, Grand Secretary Feng wasn't her grandfather at all. Well, at least he was her granduncle, wasn't he? However, the old man wouldn't tell her anything, let alone the actual exam questions, while the others just assumed that she knew everything. Mu Yao Yao had come to the exam in a foul mood. When she heard that Feng Wu was getting laughed at here, she came as soon as she could. "Why, isn't it Feng Wu, the once genius of the Feng family, and a useless piece of shit now? Why do you have to come here on such a joyful day? You're only bringing humiliation to yourself. you know? Mu Yaoyao grinned at Feng Wu and gave the latter a contemptuous look. Seeing that Mu Yaoyao was rather hostile to Feng Wu, both the Duan and Feng families let out a breath of relief. Before Feng Wu could say anything, a voice came from the front of the crowd. All candidates stand in a line on the left, and all family members should make their way to the back. Now, the inspection was going to start now. However, to everyone's surprise, Feng Wu and Chaoga went to join the line as well. Mu Yaoyao grabbed Chaoga right away. Hey, you two, get back there. This is where the candidates line up. Feng Wu was a cripple and Chaoga a fool. There was no way that they were candidates. Mu Yaoyao made sure that her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Many looked back and smirked at Feng Wu and Chaoga. Feng Wu kept her composure and remained unperturbed. Chaoga, on the other hand, couldn't take it anymore. She yelled, "Why should we? We're here to take the exam." Mu Yaoyao guffawed. So did Duan Xiaoyin, and Feng Lu, and everyone else. Anyone who had the tiniest amount of cultivation could tell that Feng Wu had no spiritual essence. She was just a commoner. Take the entrance exam of Imperial College? She had to be joking. Mu Yaoyao pressed her hands to her stomach and laughed until she was in tears. Oh God, seriously, Feng Wu, can you be any more ridiculous? You? Imperial College? Ha ha ha. Chapter 588, How Bold of You to Stay. Chapter 588, How Bold of You to Stay. Feng Lu was also laughing so hard that she was in tears. Oh God, that has to be the funniest thing I've ever heard. Ha 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 ha. Feng Wu is going to Imperial College? Ha ha ha. Duan Xiaowe and Duan Xiaoyin were also cracking up. There's no way that Chaoga is qualified to take the exam. Do you know how much her cultivation level dropped by? She's only a level 6 now. The prerequisite for the entrance exam was level 9. Why are these people so annoying? Zhao Shu and Yi Qing, who were slightly further ahead, turned around at the noise. They then saw those people laughing at Feng Wu. Yi Qing sighed. I didn't know that she was that Feng Wu. After 5 years, she's... But even if that's the case, they shouldn't laugh at her like that. The queue was moving forward at a quick pace. One would show their exam permit for inspection. Once it was verified and the candidate was cleared of any cheating materials, they were given permission to go in. Feng Wu and Chaoga were in the same line, and the inspector worked efficiently. In less than 15 minutes, it was their turn. By then, Mu Yaoyao had almost given herself cramps from all the laughing. Haha, Feng Wu, how bold of you, staying in that line just to save face. There were 2 lines in total. Mu Yaoyao had deliberately stayed by Feng Wu's side and kept taunting the latter as they moved forward. However, Feng Wu didn't even look at her during the process. It was as if Mu Yaoyao didn't exist. But Mu Yaoyao wouldn't let it drop. Feng Wu had endured everything so that she could get back at them when the time was right. At the same time, Lovebird Valley. Once Feng had taken care of everything as the Crown Prince commanded, he went back to his young master. Your Royal Highness, it's been taken care of. Miss Wu has arrived at Imperial College, reported Feng. I see, Jun Linyuan said in an indifferent tone. Putting his hands behind his back, he looked at the view in the valley. Your Royal Highness, said Feng casually. They were laughing at Miss Wu. What? Jun Linyuan frowned and turned his piercing gaze on Feng. They were laughing at Miss Wu for showing up at the exam without any cultivation ability. Your Royal Highness, will they bully Miss Wu? Jun Linyuan's back stiffened. I hope they won't give Miss Wu a hard time for the exam permit. Your Royal Highness, Your Royal Highness. Feng watched as his young master charged down the slope. He ran so fast. Thump! He smashed into a tree, and the tree was in pieces. With a wave of his hand, Jun Linyuan leveled a small hill flat. When Feng saw him again, Jun Linyuan was at the foot of the mountain. Feng went after his master in a hurry. Before long, Jun Linyuan arrived at Imperial College. It had taken him about an hour to take Feng Wu out there on his shoulder, but he used less than 10 minutes to get back to town. He was as fast when he was furious. As it turned out, He had taken a detour when he took Feng Wu out last night. But Feng Wu didn't know that. It was her turn to be inspected at the moment. The inspector was a female teacher whom Feng Wu hadn't met before. Feng Wu handed her the red booklet, then went to stand on a low stone platform where she would be searched. What? The inspector narrowed her eyes in a dangerous manner when she saw Feng Wu's exam permit. You. Staring at Feng Wu, the teacher raised the exam permit. Come here. Feng Wu was bewildered. What? Chapter 589, Banned from Imperial College for Life? Chapter 589, Banned from Imperial College for Life. What? The teacher smirked. Do you not know why I told you to step down from there? I don't. Feng Wu looked innocently confused. By then, they had attracted everyone's attention. You don't know? You forged an exam permit. Stop telling me you don't know in that innocent voice. The teacher's face was livid. Immediately, everyone behind Feng Wu cried out in surprise. Forge an exam permit? No, kidding? Is that even doable? That's so bold of her. Forging an exam permit? Looking at Feng Wu, Mu Yaoyao laughed until she was in tears. Ha ha, ha ha. Feng Wu, that's why you dare to join a line. You forged an exam permit, ha ha. Instantly, all eyes were on the red booklet in the teacher's hand. The teacher cast a stern look at Feng Wu, then turned to Chaoga. Your exam permit, please. Chaoga handed the teacher her exam permit. Another red booklet. The teacher was furious. You two are in it together, aren't you? How dare you? The teacher thought that her head was going to explode with fury. Ha ha ha. Both Duan Chaoyue and Duan Chaoyinga fought. They knew it. There was no way that Duan Chaoga would qualify to take the exam. That girl was a fool. That's it. The two of them forged their exam permits together. That's why they've been sticking with each other. They're in this silly scam together. What were they thinking? If they had to forge one, why didn't they make it green? How can they be so stupid? Mrs. Duan gave Lady Wang a taunting look. I see that's how the Feng clan teaches their daughters. That's an eye-opener. Lady Wang was infuriated. That Feng Wu was bringing shame down on the entire clan. Where are their parents? Quickly, take these two students away. The teacher exchanged looks with Mu Yaoyao when no one was looking and raised her voice in an arrogant manner. They're banned from applying to Imperial College for life. Wow! Everyone cried out in surprise. Isn't that a bit too much? Banned for life? Their futures will be ruined. Future recruits for the political and military circles were almost all graduates of Imperial College. The teacher smirked. Too much. It's all there in the school regulations, rule number 53. I'm only enforcing the regulations. She then added, let me have a look at the names. Feng Wu of the Feng clan and Duan Chaoga of the Duan family. Is it? We're the people of the Feng and Duan families. Take them back now. Stop humiliating yourselves here. The teacher was puffed up with arrogance. Mu Yaoyao had promised the teacher, who was called Jinli, a huge sum of money in return if Jinli could embarrass Feng Wu in front of everyone. Lady Wang and Mrs. Duan exchanged looks, and both saw humiliation in each other's eyes. Why, Mrs. Feng, is it? Feng Wu is a daughter of your family, isn't she? Take her back now and teach her well. Virtue, not cultivation, should be the most important quality for a person. Chapter 590, Oh God, what is happening? Chapter 590, Oh God, what is happening? Lady Wang was seriously considering killing Feng Wu there and then. Oh my, isn't it Mrs. Duan? Duan Chaoga is your daughter, right? She's the daughter of my husband's concubine. Mrs. Duan could barely keep her smile on. That still makes her your daughter. Mrs. Duan, you shouldn't focus on your own daughter and ignore your stepdaughter. Otherwise, you'll be criticized for favoritism. Mrs. Duan was speechless. She made a mental note that she would teach Duan Chaoga a good lesson after they got back. Give her a good whipping to start with. As fellow sufferers of humiliation, Lady Wang and Mrs. Duan couldn't shirk their responsibilities anymore and had to come forward. Jean Li watched as the two ladies introduced themselves as Feng Wu's aunt and Duan Chaoga's stepmother, respectively. Jean Li snorted. Take them back home now. They're only going to bring shame to themselves and your families here. Yes, of course. Lady Wang and Mrs. Duan gritted their teeth, but had no choice but to smile obsequiously. Lady Wang went up to Feng Wu, grabbed the latter by her sleeve, and said in a low, intimidating voice, Feng Wu, are you done making a joke of yourself here? Go back home with me right this instant. Feng Wu looked at her in bewilderment and said earnestly, No, I won't. Lady Wang almost had a heart attack. How can you be so shameless? Your scam has failed, and these people are all laughing at you. You're bringing shame down on the entire Feng clan. Go back home, now. She then tried to drag Feng Wu away, but she couldn't make Feng Wu move an inch. Feng Wu looked at her innocently. What scam? My permit is genuine. Chaoga was also yelling at the top of her lungs. My permit is real. Like, it can't be any more real than this. Why are you saying that we forged them? Are you blind or something? Many onlookers watched with open mouths. Mu Yaoyao herself was cracking up. Ha! I've never met someone as shameless as you two. Your scam has already failed, and you're still sticking to your lie. That's just ha-ha. At Mu Yaoyao's words, many followed suit and began to laugh as well. Jean Lin's face was livid. I've received the instruction from Mr. Liu that the exam will start in 15 minutes. Feng Wu, Duan Chaoga, are you not going to leave willingly? Fine. I hereby condemn these two people for disturbing order on the day of the exam. Take them down and lock them up in the dungeon. We'll deal with them later. Imperial College came with its own jail. 4 stalwart men appeared from behind Jean Li, and all with bulging muscles, which was a clear sign of their considerable physical strength. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes, and her lips curled into a dangerous smile. This teacher had been pushing her limits for so long that she left Feng Wu with no choice but to teach her a lesson. However, before Feng Wu could do anything, boom, a gust of wind blew across the square. Clouds of sand rose up and pebbles skittered across the ground. The air became so dusty that people had a hard time keeping their eyes open. There was a frightening energy around them. Oh God, what was happening? As a matter of fact, Jun Linyuan had arrived. He had run as fast as he could like a streak of lightning. However, he slowed down once he reached the front gate of Imperial College. Clearing his throat, he put his hands behind his back and strolled into the courtyard. Feng walked behind him. Because all eyes were on Feng Wu at the moment, and everyone was ready to see her bring shame upon herself. Chapter 591. Is Feng Wu doomed? Chapter 591. Is Feng Wu doomed? Seeing this, the Crown Prince's face turned livid and a frighteningly cold air began to come off him. Once he was angry, sand and pebbles were blown into the air, an intimidating energy filled the courtyard, and everyone was overwhelmed by a sense of foreboding. No one knew who turned their heads first. Shit! Oh my God! It's His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince. He's here. Some of the people here had seen Jun Linyuan's face before, but for most of them, this was the first time they had ever met the Crown Prince in person. Turning around, they saw a stunning teenager with cold, brooding eyes, and the air he gave off only showed how unapproachable he was. The teenager was anything but attainable. Even his most casual glance was a demonstration of what an invincible ruler he would be one day. Your Royal Highness. Everyone began to drop to their knees. It wasn't just because he was the honorable Crown Prince, but because he was unparalleled in his capability. They wholeheartedly worshipped him for his martial prowess. Thump, thump, thump. As Jun Linyuan walked in, everyone went down on their knees and prostrated on the granite pavement. Even the lofty teachers of Imperial College bowed to him. Jean Li, who had been humiliating Feng Wu with all her might, knelt down as well. Not only was she in charge of the inspection, she was also the form teacher of the first-year students. Lady Wang knelt down. Read more chapter on novel full. So did Feng Liu, and Mu Yaoyao, and everyone else but Feng Wu. Chao Ge was also intimidated by Jun Lin Yuan's authoritative air, but Feng Wu was standing there with her chin raised. Chao Ge had no choice but to stand next to Feng Wu, though her legs trembled. Jun Lin Yuan headed directly for Feng Wu, and his cold gaze locked on her. Although Mu Yaoyao was on her knees, she was over the moon. Feng Wu, aren't you in love with His Royal Highness? Well, this is the most humiliating moment of your life, and His Royal Highness is here to witness everything. I bet you want to kill yourself now. With her head lowered, Mu Yaoyao gloated to herself. Many people were frowning at Feng Wu. She wasn't kneeling. Who did she think she was? Little Feng Wu, you're in trouble again. Jun Lin Yuan sounded rather impatient, and he was frowning. Feng Wu was vexed. She found it rather strange herself. After everything Mu Yaoyao and the others said, she hadn't felt a thing. However, that single sentence from Jun Lin Yuan could make her lose her temper. Feng Wu snorted, turned her head the other way, and ignored Jun Lin Yuan. Oh God! Many were stealing glances in her direction, and were speechless to see how arrogant she was. Please, you are in the presence of His Royal Highness. As in Jun Lin Yuan, the Crown Prince. He's one of the most respected men of the Empire, the most promising teenager, and the best of his generation. You're nothing but someone without spiritual essence, a forger, and a morally compromised girl. How dare you ignore His Royal Highness? You're so dead. Jun Lin Yuan snickered. Why? You're taking it out on me now. Everyone felt chills down their spines at those words. Oh God, Feng was really doomed this time. Many broke into a cold sweat, but they couldn't help but admire her. She actually had the guts to lose her temper at His Royal Highness. Although she would probably die the next moment, but that was still very brave of her. However, Feng Wu only turned around, stared at Jun Lin Yuan with her beautiful eyes, and smirked. Chapter 592, What is happening to this world? Chapter 592, What is happening to this world? Putting her hands behind her back and sticking out her chest, Feng Wu darted a look at Jun Lin Yuan. You know, you're not the only one who has a temper, Your Royal Highness. Other people have emotions, too. You're not that unique. Everyone on their knees was astonished at Feng Wu's words. Feng Wu was so. Did she have a death wish? Did she have any idea who she was talking to? Wait, she had addressed him as Your Royal Highness, so she must know that he was Jun Lin Yuan. But she still said what she had, knowing that she was talking to His Royal Highness. Had she given up hope altogether because she knew she was doomed? Jun Lin Yuan looked down at Feng Wu. The girl had gotten bolder. With her chin raised, she reminded him of a little peacock, which was so adorable. Despite how he felt inside, Jun Lin Yuan kept his face grim and smirked at the teachers of Imperial College. What's going on? He still hadn't throttled Feng Wu? Well, it would happen soon enough. Kneeling on the ground, Jean Li was gloating inwardly, but she kept a straight face. Your Royal Highness, this girl is called Feng Wu, and she's a cripple with no spiritual essence. However, she forged an exam permit and tried to sneak into the exam room. I caught her in action. Forging the exam permit for Imperial College is a heinous crime. She has to be punished as a warning to others. Jean Li smiled maliciously. What do you think the proper punishment is, then? Jun Lin Yuan shifted his brooding gaze to Jean Li. His Royal Highness was speaking to her. Jean Li was so excited that even her voice trembled. She suddenly recalled something. His Royal Highness had been engaged to Feng Wu once. Although the engagement was called off, their names had still been mentioned together. Thus, His Royal Highness must hate Feng Wu so much for putting Jean Li in such a predicament. At that thought, Jean Li glanced at Mu Yaoyao, who nodded back at her. That gave Jean Li the support she needed. She said loudly, I think a death penalty is the most appropriate. That shocked everyone. Death penalty? Wasn't that a bit too much? Lady Wang and the others were thrilled at that statement. The death penalty. Ha ha ha. Was Feng Wu really going to be killed to set an example? If Feng Wu was dead, Lady Wang had never felt so satisfied. That would be wonderful. Standing next to Jun Lin Yuan, Feng was speechless when he looked at the crowd, as if they were the biggest idiots in the world. Death penalty? You people must have lost your minds. Just then, wait! Mr. Liu, who had just gotten wind of the news, hurried into the courtyard. After taking in the situation, he was utterly befuddled. He stared at Jean Li. What did you just say? Seeing Mr. Liu, Jean Li said in a hurry, Feng Wu should receive the death penalty for her crime. Mr. Liu didn't know what to say. Before he could ask, Jean Li began to tell him what happened. Mr. Liu was even more bemused. You're saying that little Feng Wu's exam permit is fake? Mr. Liu cried out in surprise and looked at the young teacher strangely. Yes, sir. Jean Li had no idea what a fool she was making of herself, and she actually handed Feng Wu's and Chaoga's exam permits to Mr. Liu. She even mumbled, That's a terrible replica, anyway. You can tell that it's fake at first glance. Mr. Liu didn't know what to say. Chapter 593. How terrifying. Chapter 593. How terrifying. As if she hadn't said enough, Jean Li went on telling Feng Wu off. Sir, this Feng Wu girl is so arrogant. She was very disrespectful toward His Royal Highness. Mr. Liu didn't know what to say. He looked at Feng Wu and His Royal Highness in turn. The principal of Imperial College was anything but dumb. Mr. Liu had long seen through everything. He began to suspect it when His Royal Highness picked on Feng Wu, but Feng Wu was able to turn things around after a single visit to the Crown Prince's residence. Then, this morning, this national exam had been postponed for Feng Wu. When he asked what happened and when the exam could begin, what did Feng tell him? Don't ask. As for when to start, well, it'll start when Miss Wu gets here. Miss Wu, as a Miss Feng Wu here, right? Mr. Liu had to go to court and report to His Majesty just then. He was only gone for a minute, and little Feng Wu had been put through all this. Mr. Liu stole a glance at Jun Lin Yuan. The Crown Prince, who never let his face betray anything, looked darker than a stormy day at the moment. The more Jean Li said, the grimmer the look on His Royal Highness's face. Mr. Liu didn't need to ask another question. He cut her off. You fool. Jean Li was cracking up inwardly. Ha ha. Mr. Liu just called Feng Wu a fool. Feng Wu is so dead. However, Jean Li was still gloating when Mr. Liu waved his hand. Take her down. Mr. Liu was pointing at Jean Li, instead of Feng Wu or Chaoga. Jean Li was dumbfounded. What? Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu. Imperial College had its own impressive guards. 2 guards showed up at the command and charged at Jean Li. Jean Li looked shocked. Why are you after me? Why me? Take Feng Wu down. She's right there. At the same time, many looked at Mr. Liu in astonishment. That was right. Shouldn't they be after Feng Wu? This had to be a mistake. Mr. Liu, why me? Why? Jean Li struggled violently. Mr. Liu stole another glance at Jun Lin Yuan and saw that the latter had cheered up a little. So, the female teacher had really pissed His Royal Highness off. Mr. Liu smirked. Who told you that her exam permit was fake? What? That statement shocked everyone. Did Mr. Liu say that her exam permit isn't fake? Does that mean that Feng Wu's exam permit is genuine? But hers is red and ours are green. Meanwhile, Jean Li was even more confused. Feng Wu's exam permit was a real one. No, it couldn't be. Jean Li stared at Mu Yao Yao in disbelief. It was Mu Yao Yao who had given her the instruction to humiliate Feng Wu in front of everyone. Oh God, that exam permit was real? That meant everything she had said and done was... Chapter 594, Things Never Went as Planned. Chapter 594, Things Never Went as Planned. At that thought, Jean Li almost fainted. She wasn't the only one shocked. Feng Liu, Lady Wang, Mrs. Duan, Duan Chaoyue, Duan Chaoyin, and many others were all watching what was happening in disbelief. That exam permit was legit. Feng Wu really had an exam permit. No, it can't be. How could she have one? She has no spiritual essence at all. She's just a cryptash. An idea came to Jean Li all of a sudden. She remembered the exemption rule of Imperial College. She got recommendations from 3 members of the education board. That reminded everyone else. That was right. If that exam permit was authentic, that was the only possibility. But it can't be. Feng Wu is useless. How could she have persuaded 3 elders? I don't believe it. Oh God, it just occurred to me. That exemption indeed comes with a red exam permit. No way. Is Feng Wu that well connected? Maybe the bosses still see some hope in her and think that she can get her abilities back with a little push. You know what? So what if Feng Wu has a real exam permit? Does she have spiritual essence? You're so right. Seeing that His Royal Highness was losing his patience, Mr. Liu waved at the teachers. What are you waiting for? Go back to your inspection. Yes, of course. The inspection went on smoothly. Soon, Feng Wu and Chaoga entered the exam hall. Chaoga was displeased and kept grumbling. How stupid can those people be? Would anyone trying to forge an exam permit make it red? Feng Wu chuckled. What are you mumbling about there? Chaoga frowned. I'm just pissed. Did we get insulted for nothing? Feng Wu smiled. It won't be for nothing. Chaoga looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Xiao Wu, are you going to beat them up? Let's start with some face slapping. But how? You'll see. Feng Wu found her seat according to the number on her exam permit. The exam hall was actually an open space. 100 candidates were arranged in a 10 by 10 square. Feng Wu sat in the first row of the 5th column, and an invigilator sat right in front of her. Feng Wu's stomach sank. Luckily, as the other exemption, Chaoga sat right next to her. Chaoga's seat was on Feng Wu's right. That was to say, Chaoga was the first in the 6th column. Chaoga didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the seating arrangement. To their frustration, sitting in the first row, they were right under the invigilators' noses. The bright side was that they weren't too far apart. At least they were still in the same exam hall. Just then, Chaoga tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve. Xiao Wu, Feng Wu looked back at Chaoga, knowing perfectly well that Chaoga's answers would be hopeless. Grand Secretary Feng suffered from the threat of a stroke every time he corrected Chaoga's exam paper. It always took him a long time to calm down, and in the end, he just let Chaoga go out and play on her own. Just then, other candidates began to enter the hall. Each hall contained 100 candidates, but somehow, almost everyone Feng Wu knew was in this one. Especially Duan Chaoyin, who sat right behind Feng Wu, and Duan Chaoyue, right behind Chaoga. And Chapter 595. Xiao Wu is more amazing than you can imagine. Chapter 595. Xiao Wu is more amazing than you can imagine. Duan Chaoyue and Duan Chaoyin weren't the only acquaintances here. Feng Wu recognized Yi Yifei's minions as well, for she had met them at World Tower before. They were Hui Yin, Wen Ling, Lu Hao, and Mu Qing. Mu Yaoyao was here, too. She sat on Feng Wu's left, the first seat in the 4th column. Behind her was Yao Hao and Yao Ying, the siblings Feng Wu had met at Grand Secretary Feng's place. What was more, Ning Chenxi was also here. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Apparently, apart from Yu Minji, everyone was here. Chaoga looked at Feng Wu and wanted to say something, but couldn't. Feng Wu had told her before that she would find a way to let Chaoga copy her answers. But with all these people here, they would be closely watched on all sides. What should they do now? Duan Chaoga, there you are. Duan Chaoyin gave Duan Chaoga a contemptuous look. As her sister, Duan Chaoyin knew Duan Chaoga's abilities too well. Most of the candidates here had had a normal education since they were little, making their way through the junior and intermediate schools before moving on to the senior one, which was Imperial College here. However, Feng Wu and Chaoga were the only exceptions, for they had never graduated from the junior school, nor had they attended the intermediate one. Chaoga would have exploded at Duan Chaoyin's provocation on any other day, but now she only buried her head in her hands and rested her elbows on the desk with a long face. What was she supposed to do with this exam? Xiao Wu would get admitted to Imperial College, and she would be turned down, and the distance between herself and Xiao would only grow further and further. Oh God! In terms of her cultivation level, she was qualified to apply, but she was so lopsided in her theoretical knowledge. Books were like lullabies to her. Seeing that Chaoga wouldn't reply, Duan Chaoyin smirked. Duan Chaoga, I'd leave this instant if I were you. Chaoga still wouldn't reply. Duan Chaoyin snorted. After all, it would be so humiliating to hand in a blank answer sheet. Chaoga sighed inwardly. That was spot on. Mu Yaoyao looked at Feng Wu and saw the latter sitting there with her eyes closed to adjust her breathing. She tried to provoke Feng Wu. What a poser! Feng Wu ignored her. Resting her head on her left hand, Mu Yaoyao played with her pen in her right hand and casually said, Feng Wu, I'm warning you. Keep your eyes on your own paper and don't try to copy mine. I'll report you. Those around Mu Yaoyao guffawed. Read more chapter on novel full. Duan Chaoyin followed suit. Duan Chaoga, I'm warning you. Keep your eyes on your own paper and don't try to copy mine. I'll report you. Haha, everyone cracked up. They seemed to have forgotten that Feng Wu and Chaoga were here as exemptions. How could anyone with that exam permit be ignorant? However, they simply looked past that, as if trying to fool themselves. Chaoga was furious at the provocation. She smacked the desk and jumped to her feet. Mu Yaoyao, you idiot. You know nothing. Xiao Wu got 290 in the test Grand Secretary Fong gave her yesterday. Everyone was silent at Duan Chaoga's bellow. All eyes were on Duan Chaoga. 3 seconds later. Ha! Mu Yaoyao was the first to burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that she was in tears. That seemed to flick a switch, and everyone around her began to scream with laughter. Ha ha! Ha ha! Chapter 596, A Pretty Girl Like Her. Chapter 596, A Pretty Girl Like Her. 290 points? Ha 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 ha. Mu Yaoyao laughed until her belly ached. She leaned back in her chair, guffawed, and almost gave herself the cramps. So did the rest of the candidates. 290? Ha ha ha. Duan Chaoga, are you an idiot or are you an idiot? Duan Chaoyin also leaned over her desk, and her voice trembled with laughter. 290? Ha ha, do you have any idea how hard Imperial College's exam is? And do you even know what the questions are? 290? The top student only got 250 last year. Ha ha. Mu Yaoyao was still laughing so hard that she couldn't talk normally. She was only able to calm down after quite some time. And you know what's really funny? Grand Secretary Fong. Ha ha ha. Feng Wu, you do know that Grand Secretary Fong is my grandfather, right? His time is so precious that he didn't even have time to teach me. And you say he taught you, gave you tests, and corrected your papers? You gotta be kidding me. That's the funniest joke I've ever heard. Ha ha. Look, Feng Wu chose the wrong person to talk herself up with. This is Princess Mu, and that's Princess Mu's grandfather. Would he teach Feng Wu instead of Princess Mu? Duan Chaoyin was trying her best to flatter Mu Yaoyao, and she would agree to anything the latter said. Mu Yaoyao said arrogantly, Of course not. My grandpa only lent her a few books. How dare she go around telling everyone that my grandpa prefers her to me and looks after her? She's shameless. Smack. Duan Chaoga smacked her desk. Of course Grand Secretary Fong prefers Xiao Wu. He gave us past exam papers every day. He corrected our papers and explained everything to us. He said Xiao Wu is so clever that no one's her match. Really? How so? Duan Chaoyin smirked. Xiao Wu memorized 1,000 must-reads and read 10,000 extracurricular books in 7 days. Oomph. You know nothing about how brilliant she is. Chaoga stuck out her chest and felt proud for her friend. Ha ha. However, Mu Yaoyao and Duan Chaoyin only guffawed again. Memorized 1,000 books in 7 days. And read 10,000 books, too? Who does she think she is? An immortal? No one can read so many books in such a short time. Each lie of hers is more ridiculous than the last. And do you know what's most awful about Feng Wu? What? Mu Yaoyao raised her voice. She's been sitting there all this time with her eyes closed while Duan Chaoga, her little minion, does all the talking. She can always clear her name later, saying that she didn't say anything and that Chowga made everything up. Chowga? Well, don't mind her. She's not right in the head. Wow. At those words, all the other candidates in the exam hall stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. For pretty girl, she really was a schemer. No wonder they say that the most beautiful girls are the most canny ones. Poor Duan Chowga. Doesn't she have any idea how Feng Wu is using her? Everyone was talking at the same time, and no one tried to keep their voices down. Sitting on Feng Wu's left, Mu Yaoyao stared at Feng Wu with a smirk on her face. Feng Wu, not only will I ruin your reputation and make everyone despise you, I'll also drive a wedge between you and Duan Chowga and make her betray you as well. I'm sure what I said will make Duan Chowga think twice. Chapter 597. There's only one explanation. Chapter 597. There's only one explanation. But what really happened was, Mu Yaoyao didn't know Duan Chowga at all. Chowga might be impulsive and hot-headed, but there was one thing that she would always believe. She was on Feng Wu's side no matter what. Mu Yaoyao. Chowga smacked her desk and jumped to her feet. Quiet. There came a female voice, and everyone turned in that direction. The voice belonged to a pretty young woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was slightly older than the candidates. Feng Wu had met her before. It was that teacher who had tried to give Feng Wu a hard time when she went to register for the exam. If Feng Wu remembered correctly, the teacher was called Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi came in with a stack of exam papers. She scanned the room with her eyes and fixed her gaze on Feng Wu in the end. The look she gave Feng Wu was hostile. She then snorted. The exam is going to start now, and you're still bickering? Xiao Yi wasn't the only teacher in the exam hall. As a matter of fact, Imperial College's entrance exam was probably the strictest exam out there. Each column was monitored by a separate invigilator. That was to say, there were 10 of them in total in this hall. Right now, they were all giving out exam papers to the candidates. Each exam paper contained 5 pages, which made it 10 pages in total along with the answer sheets. Everyone ended up with quite a stack of sheets. Xiao Yi was in charge of Feng Wu's column, and she smirked at Feng Wu when she gave her the paper. In a voice low enough for only Feng Wu to hear, she said, "Let's see how many points you can get." Xiao Yi had always been rather hostile toward Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu had been composed from the very beginning and ignored all the provocation. Upon receiving her paper, Feng Wu quickly skimmed through the questions. Good. She had covered most of the topics. Feng Wu was much more confident now. She started with Section 1. The first section was to fill in the blanks. Grand Secretary Feng was as experienced as he claimed. He was right about finding all the answers in those 1,000 books. Feng Wu smiled a little. Before long, she finished all 10 questions without any difficulty. Feng Wu glanced at Chowga, who looked back at Feng Wu with a pleading expression in her eyes. Feng Wu nodded and closed her eyes. As a matter of fact, Feng Wu was communicating with Feng Tutu, who was in Chowga's chest pocket at the moment. This was the cheating method Feng Wu had come up with. She would tell Feng Tutu the answers, and it would then tell them to Chowga. All Chowga needed to do was write everything down. But when Feng Wu tried to talk to Feng Tutu in her head, she got no reply. Feng Wu. There was only one explanation. Feng Tutu was fast asleep. Feng Wu rolled her eyes. It was normal for a cub to be sleeping all the time, but not now. Chowga was a little flustered and began to poke her belly with a finger, trying to wake up the little thing. But, Feng Tutu turned around in Chowga's warm pocket and went on sleeping. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Neither did Chowga. Both sighed in resignation, and Feng Wu had no choice but to move on to the next question. The second section required writing from memory. Like the first section, this part was a test of one's memory. As long as one worked hard enough, it was impossible to get this part wrong. Chapter 598. What? His Royal Highness is the Invigilator. Chapter 598. What? His Royal Highness is the Invigilator. Xiao Yi walked from the first row to the last, and saw that everyone was doing a good job. Even Feng Wu seemed to be giving correct answers. However, she frowned when she spotted Chaoga's paper. It was completely blank. Xiao Yi was about to say something when steady footsteps came from outside, and, from the sound of it, a lot of people were coming this way. What an aura! How intimidating was this power? Many looked up involuntarily, trying to see what VIP was coming. However, they almost dropped their pens. His Royal Highness. In no way. OMG. Were they hallucinating? Jun Linyuan was in the same exam hall with them. Xiao Yi was the head invigilator in this hall, and her eyes widened in astonishment when she saw Jun Linyuan. It seemed that she had no idea that the Crown Prince would be coming either. Jun Linyuan didn't come alone. Mr. Liu was by his side, and Feng was right behind him. Your Royal Highness, sir. Xiao Yi was a little flustered. As a pretty young woman, Xiao Yi worshipped and admired Jun Linyuan to a fault, like many other women her age. And now, the legend was right in front of her. In his usual arrogant manner, Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with a passive face. Mr. Liu rubbed his forehead. Forget about inspecting the exam halls. The young man was here for the girl. While the Crown Prince couldn't look away from Feng Wu, Mr. Liu and Feng exchanged knowing looks. Mr. Liu, Xiao Yi, who had been puffed up with arrogance in front of Feng Wu, was at a loss over what to do now. Cheeks flushed, she didn't even know where to put her hands and feet. Mr. Liu asked, Your Royal Highness, have you tried invigilating an exam before? No, replied Jun Linyuan in a cold voice. If that's the case, Your Royal Highness, would you like to monitor this one? Feng sighed with relief. It seemed that he wouldn't be alone in trying to make excuses for the Crown Prince. However, the candidates' mouths fell open at the suggestion. Seriously, His Royal Highness, an invigilator. What was Mr. Liu thinking? There was no way His Royal Highness would agree. But Mu Yao Yao and the others still felt their hearts skip at those words. How they wished that His Royal Highness would say yes. Especially Mu Yao Yao, who pleaded with her eyes. Please stay, please. Your Royal Highness, stay. But Feng Wu wanted exactly the opposite. She was going to help Chaoga cheat. Feng Tutu already wasn't acting as planned, and if this unpredictable Jun Linyuan joined in, it would become an impossible mission. At that thought, Feng Wu looked up at Jun Linyuan and shook her head. Go away, please. Staring at Feng Wu with his cold, brooding eyes, Jun Linyuan smiled a little. The girl really wanted him to leave, didn't she? Well, she wouldn't get what she wanted. He nodded. All right. That was a reply to Mr. Liu. All right. Feng Wu almost banged her head on her desk at that answer. Jun Linyuan, why did that guy hate her so much? He kept raising the difficulty level for her, telling her to get top place and get full marks. Meanwhile, he kept pulling her leg, stopping her from reading her books, and almost making her late for the exam. Luckily, by some miracle, the exam had been postponed, or her plan would have been completely ruined by Jun Linyuan. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.